Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's John Campea, and this is Open Mic. And oops, had a little bit of a false start there, but that's okay. We're up and running now. Sorry about that, guys. Happy Sunday to all of you dudes out there. I hope you guys are having a great one. I'm having a good one, and I hope you are too. I just got back from seeing Alita Battle Angel, everybody. Yes, I finally got out to see Alita Battle Angel. Finally got it done. It is now seen. I put it in my pocket. I'm going to do a review for it maybe tomorrow morning. I'll tell you guys this. Everything that everybody has said about it is correct. Great visuals, great action, mediocre story, kind of poor dialogue, and a terrible ending. Overall, I had fun with it, though. I was entertained by Alita Battle Angel. I give it a thumbs up, but yeah, everything that was good that people said was good about it is good. Everything that people said is bad about it, they were right. It's pretty bad, and the ending was atrocious. But overall, it's a pretty damn good experience at the movie theaters, but I'll talk more about that another time. Today here on Open Mic, though, it's not about what I thought about Alita. It's about what do you guys want to talk about? That's what Open Mic's all about. We don't have an unlimited amount of time today because I do have engagements later, but we at least got a couple of hours here to talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all that sorts of good stuff. So let's get over to it right now and get things started. And we're going to get things started today with Charles A., who writes, have you heard of Netflix's Umbrella Academy? It's cool. I have heard of it. I saw some marketing for it. Some people on the show here have been asking about it and talking about it. I haven't seen a thing. I haven't seen a thing of it yet. So I have not yet checked it out, but I know Ellen Page is in it. I'm hearing good things about it, but I haven't had a chance to check it out yet. But if you guys have, write into the live chat and leave in the comment section your thoughts on Umbrella Academy. Is this something I should rush to check out, or can I put it on the back burner for a while? All right. Canada Rocks writes, Good Omens was written by Neil Gaiman, who also created the original Lucifer character. Can't wait till May 31st when it drops on Prime. Yeah, a lot of people have been writing in, like Umbrella Academy. I've also been having a lot of people writing in, asking me about, am I looking forward to Good Omens? I haven't seen the trailer. People have been talking about the trailer's been released, and the trailer's been released, and some kind of opening sequence has been released. But I haven't had a chance to see any of that yet myself. I know the cast is really good. It's an impressive looking cast. But I don't know much else about it. But I'm curious to see because a lot of you guys are talking about it. Ben Rayner writes, can you rank the Welleses from Flash? Ben, I don't like it. I don't like rank questions. I don't like rank questions. Can you rank the Welleses from Flash between Harry, HR, and it's not Sherlock, it's Sherlock. It's Sherlock. Anyway, and Sherlock didn't put season 1 Wells because he wasn't really him. My favorite is Harry. I'll tell you what, I know you didn't put in the season 1 Wells, but that's actually my favorite incarnation of Wells. And really, it is the Earth 1 Wells. Even though he died, that is the Earth 1 Wells. Because Eobard was acting exactly like him. He took on his mannerisms and all that kind of stuff too. So I know you said you weren't including him, but I got to say season 1 Wells. And I'll say this too. This season's Sherlock, I thought at first, oh my God, this is stupid. But I've got to admit, the Sherlock character has begun to grow on me. It really has. He really has begun to grow on me. All right, let's see. Mrinal Alir writes, never read Dune before, just ordered the books. Anything I should expect? Saw Alita action, great story, had some missing, wanted more. As far as Dune goes, I've never read the books myself. I've only seen the two main different incarnations. We had the original motion picture, and then we had that miniseries. I believe it was on Sci-Fi with John Hurt William Hurt, sorry. And I really like Dune. I particularly like the miniseries. I thought the miniseries was actually quite good. So Robert's the right guy to ask for about, because I know he's read all the books, because he's read Children of Dune and all the different various books. I know he's read all of them. He's the right guy to ask about reading the books. But I'm excited for it, because I think the source material, from what I pieced together from the original movie and the miniseries, it's a great mythology. The whole stuff with Arrakis and the noble houses and all this kind of stuff, it just feeds into stuff that I really eat up, you know? And so you got Denis Villeneuve doing it, Timothy Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Stellan Skarsgård, Javier Bardem, Oscar Isaac, Jason Momoa, Dave Bautista. I mean, on and on and on this list goes. I cannot wait to watch this. But good on you for getting the books. I personally have a rule. I won't read a book if I know a movie is coming out about it. Because I find a lot of people, they bring the false expectations and what they envision a movie might look like. They bring that to a movie and then judge the movie based on their pre-existing visions of it since they read the book. So I have a rule. I will not read a book if I know a movie's coming out because I want to see the movie first so that I'm only judging the movie on its own merits and not on some construct I put together in my own head. And I think that's a big reason why you always hear people say the book was better. Well, that's because you read the book first and you put together a mental picture in your head of what it all looked like. And the movie didn't look like what you pictured. Therefore, you thought the book was better. And sometimes the book is just better, but that's why I have a rule about that. All right. Ant Banks, 1984 writes, watching Thor Ragnarok, love that movie, then watching Infinity War is a perfect segue. You could have called Infinity War Thor 3.5 if Thor aimed for the head. No, you know what? You're not wrong. You're absolutely right. You really could, in some ways, have called Avengers Infinity War Thor Ragnarok 2. I mean, you could have. Thor 3.5 or Thor Ragnarok 2, you really could. Or Thor Ragnarok Part 1 and Thor Ragnarok Part 2. You kind of could have called it that. Because I've mentioned this before, but in the director's commentary on the Blu-ray of Avengers Infinity War, the Russo brothers make a great observation. The Russo brothers themselves say on the Blu-ray commentary that if Thor had ended up hitting Thanos' head and killed him before the snap, then our perception of Infinity War would instantly change from that of being a Thanos movie to being that of a Thor movie. And that's not me. That's the directors of the film. They said, had Thanos been taken out by Thor, it would completely radically alter how we perceive that. Because really, the whole movie's about following these two. The movie starts with Thanos and Thor. And for all intents and purposes, the movie ends with Thanos and Thor. And the middle of the movie is Thanos and Thor start together, then their paths separate, then they each have different paths through the movie, and then by the end of the movie, they come back together and ends with Stormbreaker buried in Thanos' chest. And then down the middle, you got these side stories going on with, Tony and Spider-Man and Cap with his crew, and that's all side story, but really the main threads are Thanos and Thor. And had he beaten Thor at the end, or Thanos at the end, we would have seen the whole movie as a Thor movie. So when you joke around and say Infinity War could be called Thor 3.5, or as I would call it, Thor Ragnarok Part 1 and Thor Ragnarok Part 2, you're actually not far off. I mean, because that seems to be where the Russo's heads were as well. Anyway, Scarlet Witch's husband, I like that name, writes, I'm calling it right now. The final Endgame trailer will debut that Monday before Captain Marvel, and it will feature her heavily to get those last people on the edge of getting out to go see it. Well, here's the thing, Scarlett. I have been saying for a while that I believe, since we're heading into Captain Marvel, that an Endgame trailer will heavily feature Captain Marvel because that will pump up Captain Marvel. Remember, Avengers Infinity War started to feature Black Panther in the Avengers Infinity War trailers before Black Panther came out, and that kind of also helped Black Panther, right? Even though the movie came out, Black Panther came out first, the trailers for Infinity War were out before Black Panther, the movie, came out, and they featured Black Panther in it, and there you go. And the results were pretty impressive, right? I've been thinking for a while, I've said for a long time, that I believe the Endgame trailers will feature Captain Marvel for two different reasons. One, just because I think she's going to play an important role in the film, but number two, to help also promote the Captain Marvel movie, much like they did with Black Panther to tremendous success. I'll say this, though. The first two spots have come out. And neither of them have shown Captain Marvel. So I will say this. I still think the next Endgame trailer, which I think will be the first pow Endgame trailer, the one that to really blow people's socks off. I think the next Endgame trailer will feature Captain Marvel, but I don't feel as certain about that as I did before. Because I was 100% certain before that we were going to get Captain Marvel featured in these trailers to help promote the movie, the Captain Marvel movie, as well as Endgame. But they haven't in the least out of 2 spots already, and they very well may. I still think they will in the next trailer. I still think they will. And I think it'll drop with the Oscars. I do. I think it'll drop with the Oscars. I could be wrong about that. I have no insider information. I'm just guessing. But my guess is that the next Avengers Endgame trailer will debut with the Oscars. Since ABC is telecasting it and ABC is owned by Disney, it's a good fit. And I still think Captain Marvel will be featured heavily in it like you do. I'm just saying I'm not as convinced of that as I used to be. I was 100%. Now I'm like 70%. Now I'm like 70% sure that that's going to happen. So will it? We'll find out soon enough. And I still think it's going to be with the Oscars. The Captain Marvel movie drops very shortly after that, so who knows? All right. Very good observation, Scarlett. And like I said, I pretty much agree. All right. O+98 writes, "Hi, John. If Warner Brothers had moved Justice League to March of 2018 so that Whedon can put more of his stamp on the film, do you think it would have done better at the box office? And if he also kept Junkie XL as the composer, keeping Junkie XL as the composer wouldn't have done anything for the box office. Wouldn't have done a thing. Not. Let's be clear about that. Wouldn't have done a single thing. Now, for those of you wondering what's O+ talking about, it became public that Whedon and some of the producers on Justice League, they wanted to push the film. They felt they needed more time. With all the changes they made to the movie and reconstructing a whole bunch of it and rewriting a whole bunch of it, they felt they needed more time to finish the film. However, Kevin Tsujihara, the High Lord and Emperor over at Warner Brothers, said no. You can't change the release date. There were some reports that then came out that the reason Kevin Tsujihara said no was because he wanted that movie to come out in 2017, so its box office would count towards his bonus. And with the pending at the time takeover of Warner Brothers, he was afraid if Justice League got into 2018, he wouldn't have gotten a bonus for it. Those are the reports. I don't know firsthand if that's completely true or not, so take that with a giant grain of salt. But that is what a number of the sites reported. At any rate, do I think had they moved Justice League to March and given Joss Whedon and the producers and that team like 3 extra months to finish the film the way they wanted to finish it, would that have helped the film? Couldn't have hurt. It couldn't have hurt. And normally, they're not rushing it, But the problem is, they stepped in and realized they had to redo a whole bunch of that movie. But they didn't change the release date to accommodate all the extra work that needed to be done. And a lot of the visual effects came out looking questionable, including Steppenwolf looked terrible. The design was good, but the animation on it was terrible. So I think we would have ended up with a better film. I still like the movie. I still like what the final project was. I enjoyed Justice League. It had its problems, absolutely. I'm not denying that. But overall, I found it pretty enjoyable. Would we have gotten a better movie? I believe so. Would a better movie have contributed more to the box office? Yes. I think if the movie was better and more people enjoyed it, then there would have been more word of mouth and more repeat viewings. And yeah, don't get me wrong. I don't think it would have turned it from a $650 million film to a $1.4 billion film. Nothing like that. But do I think it could have gone from 650 to 725? Yeah. Do I think it could have possibly gone from 650 to 750, maybe even 800? Yeah. It wouldn't have been a night and day difference, but I do think it would have made a difference. But we'll never know. All right. O+ follows that up with saying, if yes, would Ben and Henry might have stayed? Well, I think the Ben situation had nothing to do with Justice League. Like Ben was gone 2 years ago. I told you guys that. He was out 2 years ago. They just never admitted it and they never made it public. And now Ben Affleck, even now, just confirmed on Kimmel that he was out as soon as he stepped down as director. He was out as Batman. He just confirmed it on Kimmel. So he's been out as Batman for 2 years. So no matter what was going to happen with Justice League, Affleck was out. Henry Cavill's a different situation. I'll say that, maybe. But even if Justice League had made like $800 million, I think a lot of people at Warner Brothers still would have looked at that as a disappointment. Justice League is supposed to be their version of the Avengers. Justice League is supposed to get the results that the Avengers gets. So to not hit $1 billion, let alone $2 billion, to not even hit $1 billion with Justice League, with Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman and The Flash and Aquaman and Cyborg, and if you can't hit $1 billion with that film, you got to reassess what you're doing. And so while I don't think it had anything to do with Ben, it may have had an influence on the Henry situation. I don't know that for sure, but that's just my guess. All right. Abdullah Shaker writes, Hasbro confirmed that Bumblebee will be a reboot. Bumblebee already happened. Are you saying Bumblebee 2? And I'm kind of married somebody connected with Hasbro. I haven't heard that, so I'm not quite sure what we're talking about, unless you're talking about like a further film is going to separate more, because the Bumblebee movie we got, it's kind of ambiguous. You could look at it as a reboot, or you could look at it as a prequel with some continuity errors. I'm not really totally sure, but I have to see what Hasbro's talking about. Mandrop writes, just saw Shot Caller. I absolutely love that movie. Oh, God, I can't remember which one Shot Caller is. Hold on a second. Let me check. Shot Caller. Which one is that? Oh, that's the one by Rick Roman Waugh. I've interviewed Rick Roman Waugh before, and that's the one with the dude from Game of Thrones, the guy who plays Jaime Lannister. He's in that one. I passed on it. I don't know why, because I really like Rick, the director, but I never did see it. And I've heard good things about it. Not to mention Lake Bell is in the movie. And I've got a little... Jennifer Garner's my main celebrity crush, but I've actually got a little bit of a celebrity crush on Jamie Bell. Not Jamie Bell, on Lake Bell. I've got a little bit of a crush on Lake Bell. I've always heard good things about it, though, but I never did get around to checking it out. Okay. Justin Goodwin writes, do you think the MCU could adapt Secret Empire, where Captain America is Hydra Supreme and takes over the U.S., or would it be too controversial? Nah, it's for a couple of reasons. One, it was stupid when they did it in the comics. And two, it would be seen just as, if not more stupid, if you try. It would be so inconsistent and whatever. So it's not that it would be controversial, it's that it would be stupid. And I don't think they're going to do that. And they won't do that to this Captain America character. And it would be so inconsistent with everything they've done. I couldn't see them doing it. I just couldn't see them doing it. Julius also follows it up with, could adapt it into a movie, I mean to say. Oh, no, cool. No, I absolutely knew what you meant, Julius. Yeah, obviously into a movie. But it's because of that no. And I know a lot of people that just thought it was ridiculous what the whole thing they did with Captain America actually being a part of Hydra, that infamous piece of art where you see Captain America going, "Hail Hydra." Like, a lot of people thought it was really dumb. I don't know why Kevin Feige would be stupid enough to adapt that into the movie universe. Santez Henderson writes, Alita isn't a bad movie. It's fine, but dialogue and some acting wasn't the best. 3 out of 5, but Happy Death Day 2 was fun like the first. Great time, 4 out of 5. Yeah, I'm hearing a number of people telling me they actually preferred Happy Death Day 2 over the original Happy Death Day. And I had a great time with the original Happy Death Day. And I don't disagree with you on Alita. It's not bad. Actually, I think it's good. It's not great, but I think it's good. And I'll tell you, here's one of the other problems with Alita. I'll go into this in the thing. It was too long. 2 hours and 2 minutes is not too long for most movies. It was too long for this movie. It was too long for this movie. I felt there was a number of chunks of the film you could have just taken out of it to speed up the pace of it a little bit. I think this movie would have been great, at least felt a lot better and a lot more crisp at an hour and 45. Maybe they sliced about 17 minutes out of it. But yeah, some dialogue was cringeworthy. Um, a little bit of the story. I'm not going to go into the plot holes here because I don't want to give away some major plot holes. It's like, wait a minute. If that was that, then this would have been this. And they just kind of ignore that. But anyway, there you go. Senpaigar writes, watched a very funny interview with Adam Driver, my favorite actor working today. I love Adam Driver. On the SAG-AFTRA Foundation YouTube channel last night. Conversations with Adam Driver. I recommend you see it. I'm actually, you know what? I'm going to do right now. I'm going to load it up. Adam Driver. Conversations with Adam Driver on YouTube. I guess it was put up originally in January. So I've got it pulled up on my screen. I'm going to check that out. Well, it's an hour and a half long. I'm not going to watch the whole thing. But I've got it pulled up on my screen. I'm going to check that out later because that sounds intriguing to me. Thanks for sharing that, Senpaigar. I appreciate that, man. Okay. Scarlet Witch's husband, again, I love that name. All Brie Larson said was that she wanted more diversity in her press tour, not just white males, and the narrative came out that she's racist. Let's boycott Captain Marvel. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Here's the thing. People with an agenda have taken segments of things that Brie Larson said and then labeled it as Brie Larson's message and try to make it sound like Brie Larson is anti-man and she's not. I am a white male film critic. And I saw the whole context of what she said. And I, as a white male film critic, am telling all of you guys who are not white male film critics that she was not being anti-white male film critic. All she was saying was in a movie like Wrinkle in Time, which was a bad movie, by the way. It was a bad movie. But all she was saying was at a movie like A Wrinkle in Time, which is specifically targeted, and the message is kind of targeted towards young black girls and their life experience, that very, very, very few of the press that were invited to press screenings and the press junket were black females. There were very, very few, if any, black females invited to be a part of that. And then, so in that context, Brie Larson was talking about how the press stuff needs to be opened up more. We need to invite more people with some more diversity to be a part of it. That's all she was saying. And within that larger context, the words came, I don't care what a 40-year-old white film critic thinks about this movie, because it's not who the movie was targeted at, and we had no young black female critics there. I'm more interested in this. And she's been championing the idea that we need to invite more people in. To suggest, here's the thing, and this is where all these people get it completely wrong. To suggest that more people from Group B should be invited to the party is not saying I hate anybody in Group A. That's fallacy. That's flawed logic. Just because saying I think more people from B should be invited to the party is not saying I hate anyone in Group A. But people with an agenda have been trying to get you to believe that Brie Larson is saying she hates anybody in Group A. And they believe, these people with an agenda believe that you're stupid enough to just believe that. They believe, these people with an agenda believe you're so dumb, they think you're so dumb that you're just going to believe their quick little headline, only showing you the one phrase she said and just completely hide, not talk about the whole context in which she said it, and you're just going to eat it up and you're just going to believe it. I have met Brie Larson. I have talked to Brie Larson. Brie Larson does not hate me. A white 40-plus-year-old film critic. She doesn't hate me. She's great to me. She doesn't hate anybody else. She's great to everybody else. But does she have a point when she says people from Group B, more people from Group B should be invited to the party, and it shouldn't just be people from Group A? She's not wrong. She's absolutely right. But people with an agenda want you to believe it's either or. There's no such thing as both and. It's not either or. It's not either Group A or Group B. No. The message is it's both and. It's both and. And preaching a message of both and does not mean you hate somebody from Group A. But people with an agenda want you to believe that that's the case. Brie Larson has been very clear. She is a white Caucasian person herself. She has no problem with white Caucasian people. She was simply saying, in the context in which it was said, she wanted more people to be invited. And she's talked about that further. But people with the agenda don't want you to listen to that. They don't want you to hear it. They want you to stick your fingers in your ears and go, no, let's just believe the headline. Brie Larson hates white people. And they think you're dumb enough to buy it. Don't be dumb enough to buy it. Anyway, because believe me, as a white 40-something-year-old film critic, if she was saying, I hate white 40-year-old film critics, I'd be like, screw you, Larson, because she'd be talking about me. But me, the type of person she's talking about, if I can see that that's not what she's saying, then I believe that the vast majority of you are intelligent enough to see that that's not what she's saying either. But anyway, that's just me. Okay, let's move on. Over under 40% Plastic Man is in the DCEU. You know what? Here's the thing. Before James Gunn was added to the DCEU, I would have said, I don't know. I don't know that Plastic Man works in a movie universe, right? Now, in the sequel to The Dark Knight Returns, when Batman comes back, he gets there's this amazing scene with Plastic Man where he's busting Plastic Man out of a government prison for him. And like Batman says, we've got to be careful because he could kill us all easily. Talking about Plastic Man. Plastic Man is uber powerful. But there's something ridiculous about the character to have him in the DCEU, to put him on the big screen. But if you now have a cinematic universe where James Gunn is now in the DCEU making films, all bets are off. I could totally see a guy like James Gunn introducing a character like Plastic Man. So I'll tell you what, I'm not saying it's a certainty, and I'm not saying it's a probability, but I will take the over 40% on that. I'll take the over on that. Okay. Let's see. TF writes, John, please help me. I just watched Hereditary and I think I need counseling. What an effed up film. Please help me. Dude, I'm telling you what, for a month after watching that movie, I kept I'm not going to spoil anything for those of you who haven't seen the film. Let's just say for a full month after I saw that movie, I kept my windows on my car rolled up real tight. Those of you who've seen the movie know exactly what I'm talking about, but I kept my windows rolled up real tight. And I bet you did too. It is a movie that'll mess with you, man. I still can't believe Toni Collette didn't get nominated for Best Actress for that. I still cannot believe Toni Collette did not get nominated for that. That's astounding to me. I really thought she should have been nominated. Anyway, Ben Rayner writes, think of the awesomeness Dom could do if he had the DeLorean. Oh my God. If Dominic Toretto from Fast and Furious had the DeLorean. Yeah, he'd probably wreck some stuff up, man. He would probably wreck some stuff up. By the way, this is I can't remember. Is Back to the Future a Universal film? I can't remember. Because Fast and Furious is a Universal property. And I just cannot remember if Back to the Future is or not. It'd be interesting to see them try to cross those streams. All right, Magic K writes, favorite Alan Moore comics besides Watchmen, V for Vendetta, and Killing Joke? Ugh. I mean, those are the main ones I think of when I think of Alan Moore's comics. Hold on a second. Let's see here. What's another one? I mean, those are the ones. I don't know that I've read a lot more. I mean, I read a Swamp Thing stuff. I knew the Swamp Thing stuff. I'm just gonna, by default, I'm probably gonna have to go to Swamp Thing because there's not a lot of the other ones here that I've actually read or that I remember. Oh no, I read that, but I barely remember it. So I'm gonna go probably his run stuff on Swamp Thing, but clearly it's Watchmen. Clearly, let's see. Ryan Lohner writes, talked about Dream Team movies yesterday. My big one is Labyrinth, Henson, Lucas, Jones, and Bowie. Hated at the time, but vindicated by history. Yeah, that's a good one, because what Ryan's talking about is yesterday on Open Mic, we talked about for a minute, when you talk about Indiana Jones, we came up, and I'm like, think about that. Indiana Jones was Steven Spielberg directing, George Lucas writing and producing, and Harrison Ford starring. That's insane. That is insane. Can you imagine if Christopher Nolan and Denis Villeneuve got together and said, okay, one of us will write and produce. Let's say Christopher Nolan was going to write and produce, and Denis Villeneuve was going to direct. And then they went out and got, I don't know, Jake Gyllenhaal or something to star in it, or Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel Day-Lewis comes out of retirement to star in it. That's kind of the equivalent of what that was at that time. It's nuts, and that's another good. The stuff with Labyrinth. That's another good example, man. All right, Murray Reich writes, I was listening to this commentator, and he twisted your words on why Black Panther shouldn't be nominated, only because you're a stay-in-lane guy. You like Logan more because he's white. Really? Logan's a better movie. I also thought Logan was better than Ant-Man. Does that mean I just like Australian actors more than American actors? I guess. Look, there are a bunch of low intelligence people out there who need to come up with excuses as to why somebody doesn't agree with them. There are a bunch of low intelligent people who they cannot handle that somebody thinks something differently than they do. And instead of just accepting that somebody thinks different than them, they've got to come up with a reason why. Right? So, wait a minute. You think Logan was a better film than Black Panther? Instant, can't handle it, so they come up with an excuse. Well, you just said that because it's a white guy. First of all, that person probably doesn't even believe that, but they just say it because they think it'll get clicks. And by the way, I have no idea. I literally have no idea who you're talking about. So I'm not making reference to anybody specifically. But it's like, I can't handle that somebody doesn't agree with me. So I'll come up with an excuse. You're a white guy. All right. Sure. If that makes you sleep better, you go ahead and sleep better based on that. You go right ahead, my friend. Good luck, like making your way through life with that kind of an attitude. All right. Anyway, Dan Clock writes, 1 week until the Oscars, my favorite moment from last year's Oscars is when Roger Deakins won his first Oscar after 13 nominations. Made me happy. Totally crazy, right? And by the way, I'm trying to remember the name of the cinematographer this year, but there's a cinematographer this year who kind of like Deakins, but this is his 6th nomination and still hasn't won. I'm drawing a blank on the dude's name right now. I can't believe it. But anyway, there's another guy who's kind of in the same situation Deakins was, where it's like his 6th nomination and he's never won yet. And I don't think he's going to win this year either. So maybe he'll have to go for it on a 7th. But yes, it was kind of crazy to think about Roger Deakins not having an Academy Award. It's kind of crazy thinking about that. But it is what it is, but it was a great moment. It was absolutely a wonderful moment. Patrick Conway writes, just realized Thor can destroy plants with Bifrost. I guess? Did you mean planets? Because in the first Thor film, opening up the Bifrost too powerfully and for too long was going to destroy Jotunheim, right? The planet of the realm of the frost giants. So if you mean just realized Thor can destroy planets, I'm going to guess you meant planets, not plants. Well, it all depends. I mean, with Stormbreaker, all that Peter Dinklage said was that he can summon the Bifrost with it. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Stormbreaker has all the power of the Rainbow Bridge. I don't know if it's got all that power, but he can at least summon a Bifrost. So if that's what you're referring to, what happened in Jotunheim, I don't know if that's true. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying I don't know that that's true because they haven't really gone into detail about what that entails with Stormbreaker. Javier Riaz 405 writes, in Infinity War, how did Thor know where Wakanda was? I don't know. Like, one of the abilities that Heimdall had, and I don't know if it was connected to Heimdall's connection to the Rainbow Bridge and the Bifrost, but like, how did Heimdall send him directly to Doctor Strange's house, right? My only guess is he was able to peer through the Bifrost. Again, pure speculation on my part, but that's my guess, is somehow the Bifrost is able to take him to where he needs to be. You know, take me to where he needs to be. And the Bifrost maybe does the rest. I don't know that for sure. That's just my best theory at this point. Let's see. Javier Rios writes, thoughts on The Good Dinosaur from Pixar? I'll tell you what. The Good Dinosaur, it had a bunch of controversy surrounding it because they changed the story. They swapped out the voice cast. It had a lot of production drama going on with it. And when it came out, it is not the best received Pixar film. It's actually one of the most forgotten about Pixar films is The Good Dinosaur. I'll tell you what, I liked it. I did. Is it one of the better Pixar films? No. But it was charming and it was cute and it was kind of funny and I enjoyed it. All right. Murray Reich writes, my main concern for Star Wars Episode 9 is that the same toxic fandom will affect Tran again and possibly some new characters too. Oh, maybe. I mean, look, there are toxic people that just by nature, they're going to be toxic. And their thing is, you made a movie that I didn't like. I want to say as many hurtful things as I possibly can. And I don't just want to not like a movie and move on. I want to try to personally hurt people who tried their best. There are those people out there. The key is not ever thinking we're going to get rid of all those people. The key is just starve them of what they're seeking, which is attention. And look, and by the way, the movie needs to be better. Episode 9, like, I like The Last Jedi, but Episode 9 needs to be better than The Last Jedi was, because I had my issues with it. And the best way to get people to ignore the toxic people is to make a better movie. Now, not liking a movie does not make you toxic, and saying you didn't like a movie doesn't make you toxic. What makes you toxic is when you become a person who's like, you know what? You made a movie that I didn't like, or you like a movie that I don't like, and I want to now say things with the specific purpose of hurting you. I want to specifically say things to hurt you. I don't want to just express my opinion. I didn't like the movie. I hated it. I didn't think it was good. I just thought it was a bad film. That's not toxic. People confuse that with being toxic. That is not toxic. Not liking The Last Jedi. I know a lot of people who are big Star Wars fans did not like The Last Jedi. Does not make them toxic. When you cross that line to becoming a toxic person is when you're like, the whole purpose of me writing what I'm writing and the purpose that I'm going to phrase what I'm writing is because I want to have maximum hurtful impact on a person. And if that means using racial slurs, then I'm going to use it. If it means using sexist slurs, then I'm going to use it. If it means making, whatever else kind of things I need to do, whatever I need to do to be as hurtful as possible, then I'm going to do that. I'm going to write that because I want to hurt somebody. Then you are a toxic cancer. That's not being a fan. Saying, I hate that movie. That's part of being a film fan. Saying, that movie sucks and I hope your kid dies so you're too distracted to make another movie. That's not being a film fan. That's being toxic. And that's the line to me, is when you purposefully write something with the intent of harming somebody or hurting somebody. That's not being a film fan. Like, I hate Assassin's Creed. I hate that movie. I think it's a terrible movie, and I will express that, but I will stop there. I'm not going to go, Michael Fassbender should just crawl off and disappear. I'm not going to say that so-and-so who directed it, his mother must be ugly. Blah, blah. Like, I hate that movie. I think it's terrible, but I'm going to stop at that. And I think that's the problem. So we'll see. We'll see, Murray. We'll see. James L.H. writes, hey, John, I mentioned yesterday indie films. You talked about the end of The Last Crusade. I especially liked it when you were named after the dog. Yeah, that's Sulla. That's not from... oh, no, that is when he finds it out. I was going to say Sulla finds that out in the first Indy film. But I'm like, oh, wait, no, that's wrong. Sulla finds that out from Sean Connery. You were named after the dog? By the way, how great is Sulla? What's that dude's name? John Rhys Davies? I think is the guy who does Sulla. He's great. He's also the dwarf in Lord of the Rings. And by the way, he's also Treebeard the Ent in Lord of the Rings. Not a lot of people know that. That's also John Rhys Davies in that as well. And he's also one of the stars in Shogun, the miniseries that I talk about all the time. I love John Rhys Davies. He's great. Ryan Lohner writes, Episode 9, the whole movie, it seems Luke is back somehow, but then it turns out it's really the trickster. Wouldn't that be a twist kick in the pants if he turns out being the trickster from The Flash? God, look. I still don't know what they're going to do with Luke in the next one. The odds are it's a 97% chance he's a Force ghost, but I'm still I don't care. I'm holding on to my 3% hope that he's actually still alive. That all he did is he Force projected himself off the planet, off the island planet, and somewhere different in the universe, and then closed himself off from the Force again because the First Order now knew where he was, so he had to leave, and I'm hoping he didn't actually die. I know it is a 97% chance that he's dead and he's just a Force ghost, but I as a desperate fan, am just kind of clinging to that last 3% that I hope he's still alive. Okay, James L.H. follows up, and he writes, I like your favorite things of the week with Rob and Ashley. Thank you so much. Just so you know, what James is talking about is we have Patreon supporters for the John Campea Show, and thank you to you guys who are Patreon supporters. It gives us the resources we need to keep the show alive and to keep the channel alive and to keep the people working on the show. But every Friday, me and Robert Meyer Burnett and Ashley, we do a podcast that's exclusively for our Patreon supporters called Best of the Week, where each of us talk about our favorite stories from that week. And then we also take, questions from the Patreon supporters as well. But anyway, thank you, James, for giving me an opportunity to plug that podcast. James L.A. says, I like your favorite things of the week with Rob and Ashley. Just wanted to throw you mine. Yesterday trailer. Yeah. And my Venom Blu-ray arrived. I know, physical media. I know I bought Venom a long time ago, but on digital streaming. I don't buy physical media, but I believe I mentioned yesterday as one of my favorites of the week too. I love that trailer. That one's great. And then my other favorite thing of the week was the news that according to Production Weekly, Masters of the Universe movie is supposed to go into production this summer. Now, I haven't heard anybody from a studio confirm that. That's just in Production Weekly, but just the hope of that we might finally be going into production on a Masters of the Universe movie, that was enough to make my favorite things of the week, and that was on my list of best of the week. Rob had a couple, Ashley had a couple, but those were mine. All right, Murray Reich writes, where did Murray go? There he is. My wife wanted to see What Men Want, and I thought I would hate it, but oh my God, it surprised me. I had so many laughs throughout the film that I left with a smile. I haven't gone to see it. I loved the idea of the movie because I like the old one with Mel Gibson and the girl from Mad About You. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I liked What Women Want. The idea of doing it completely opposite with a woman who can hear men's thoughts, that's interesting because that would be a totally different movie because what a man would hear in a woman's head is going to be totally different from what a woman would hear in a man's head. And you put Taraji P. Henson in there, and I like Taraji P. Henson, so I'm like, okay, this could be good. And the trailers didn't work for me. I didn't laugh once in the trailers. So I felt no motivation to go see it. But Murray, I got to say, you're not the first person to tell me that's pretty good, so I may have to give this one a chance. I may have to give that one a chance. All right. Damien writes, prediction, Browns will win at least 10 games and make it to the playoffs. Woo! 10 games. That ain't easy. 10 games is not easy in the NFL. I think that's what the Patriots won this year. I think the Patriots won 10 games, and they won the Super Bowl. 10's a tall order, but I do think there is a legitimate chance that the Browns make the playoffs this year. I mean, you've got a quarterback now who's got he's another year experience. He's got another year under his belt. He had playoff-like experience because, they needed to win that final game. That was a playoff-like environment. So he's got that under his belt now too. They've got new leadership. Who knows? I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye on the Browns next year. Damien follows up with, do you think that Warner Brothers could have rebooted the DCEU if Wonder Woman wasn't a success? Because by the time Justice League comes out, it would have been 5 straight divisive films. I honestly don't think... Look, I think they would have kept going anyway. Now, I believe they should have rebooted, but they clearly made the decision not to. And I don't think if Wonder Woman had made, 300 million less, I don't think that would have changed things. You don't keep an entire cinematic universe going because one film was a hit. That would make you pretty incompetent as a studio head. So I honestly think that whether or not Wonder Woman was a big hit, I still think they would have kept going forward. I think they should have rebooted, but I think they probably wouldn't have, because you don't go, well, we had all this mess, but hey, one film was a hit. Let's keep going because of that one. Nah, I don't think that's the case. I think they, even if Wonder Woman wasn't a hit, I still think they would keep going now. I really do. I think that. Let's see. Murray Reich writes, I miss the old video store days. It was a family experience. Went weekends choosing 2 to 3 films, which would take a half hour. Only issue was late fees. Good times. Dude, I'm telling you. I'm not going to wax too poetic about it because I like just being able to bring up a menu on my Google Play Store and just hit rent or hit purchase, and there it's done. But those were good times. I remember me and friends of mine back in high school, we would go down, or early in college, we would go out to, in Canada, we had Rogers Video. I know in the States you had Blockbuster. In Canada we had Rogers Video, but we'd go to Rogers Video and it was fun. You and your buddies go and you'd go up and down the aisles looking at all the different movies, trying to pick a movie to watch that night or a couple of movies to pick up for a week. We had this one video store near us that had this great deal, 7 movies for 7 days for $7. I was like, woo! Anyway. But going down and picking the things out, those were good times. It was. I'm not going to pretend like I would go to a video store every day if they were something. No, I'd probably still sit in my lazy ass and use my remote and pick things out. But those were good times, Murray. I remember them well. I remember them well, my friend. All right. Aussie Nerd writes, I am seeing 4 movies at the Queer Screen Mardi Gras Film Festival this week, including Can You Ever Forgive Me and 4K restoration of Maurice. Where is that? Now, you're saying Queer Screen Mardi Gras Film Festival. So I'm going to take a wild assumption that that's in New Orleans. I have not heard of this. It's funny because on the companion video that I recorded today, because there were a whole ton of questions we didn't get to on Friday. So I recorded a companion video this morning. It's just not up on the channel yet. It's going to be up on the channel a little bit later. But somebody specifically asked me, and I don't think it was you, Aussie Nerd, what are some of my favorite LGBTQ movies? And I mentioned a couple off the top of my head. I said one is go all the way back to 2001. It's a movie called Kissing Jessica Stein. I really like that film. Good. It's got a real indie comedy kind of feel to it. I like that one a lot. Another one is But I'm a Cheerleader. I thought that one was pretty fun. Even though it deals with some pretty screwed up stuff, but it's also pretty fun. And some people will argue that Chasing Amy isn't really a gay-themed movie. I do consider it that. So that was one of my favorites as well. But anyway, I hope you have a good time, man. Film festivals are always fun. All right. Griffith Olendy writes, why do you believe Logan is better than 3 Billboards? Well, I'm not going to sit here and do a 45-minute breakdown of it and this. I believe there was more dramatic impact. I believe there was richer, deeper characters, and that might have something to do that we knew the characters previously. I love 3 Billboards, though. Don't expect to hear me say a single bad word about 3 Billboards. I love that movie. I love that movie more than most, and I was very happy to see it win Best Picture of the Year. It's a brilliant, wonderful movie. It's a study of how anger affects different people in different ways and leads us all to a very dark place when you let anger and bitterness dwell. It's beautifully done. It's awesome with terrific performances, blah, 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 blah. Won a bunch of Oscars. Anyway, But yeah, I think Logan is better. Okay. Pool of Dead writes, John, did you see Paddington is joining the Dune cast? If you mean like the Paddington, I wouldn't be surprised at this point, because it feels like every single day we wake up and a new blockbuster surprise. Somebody wrote to me earlier today that Meryl Streep and Daniel Day-Lewis and Deadpool and the Care Bears and everybody's joining Dune. It would, like, I'm just saying, Pool of Dead, I'm not going to fall out of my seat in shock if tomorrow I open up Variety and it says Paddington the Bear joins Dune as, like, I don't know, one of the House Atreides guards or something. I'm just not going to be shocked at this point, because it seems like everybody is joining the Dune film at this point. Ace writes, just finished Sons of Anarchy, and well, Kurt Sutter is an asshole. Kurt Sutter, of course, is the creator and showrunner. And by the way, he's also the creator and showrunner of the new show that's out, Mayans, which is a spinoff of Sons of Anarchy, and much better than I thought it would be. Anyway, that that show, it is one of my top 3 all-time favorite shows. My number 1 favorite show of all time is Moore's Battlestar Galactica, the Ronald D. Moore version. And then, in no particular order, my next 2 favorite, in no particular order, are Sons of Anarchy and Spartacus. And yeah, those are my 3 favorite shows. Sons of Anarchy is so good. Oh, God, that's so good. But Kurt Sutter's constantly kicking you in the balls, because so many people, you think Game of Thrones is bad. So many people die in Sons of Anarchy. It just felt like you're getting your heart ripped out all the time. So, yeah. But I'm glad you watched it, Ace. I'm glad you watched it. Curtis Lopez writes, Superman's arc in Man of Steel / Batman vs. Superman is much like Cavill's turn as the character. He shows up, no one likes him. Going down to Curtis again. He does good things, yet people still critical. Then when he goes away, people are sad and realize they lost something great. That's a great observation, Curtis. It really is. Because, like, when the word came out that Henry Cavill was probably not going to be back as Superman, all of a sudden everybody's like, boo, Warner Brothers, boo, bring back Henry Cavill, boo. And I'm like, where were all you fools when Man of Steel, that brilliant movie, came out? Where were all of you? Where were all you guys now who are on the bandwagon going, oh, boo, Henry Cavill's a great Superman, boo? Where were you when Henry was Superman? Huh? It kind of bugs me, because we could have used that support when Man of Steel was out. We could have used that support. A lot more of you should have gone to the theater support. A lot more of you should have talked about how great of a Superman Henry Cavill is, blah, blah. But now that Warner Brothers may not have removed Henry Cavill as Superman, now everybody comes out of the woodwork. Now everybody's here going, boo. I mean, come on. Where were you when we needed you? Anyway, Josh Crichton writes, here's a movie you'll be glad someone brought up, Romancing the Stone. Romancing the Stone, never leaving your poor heart alone, every night and every day. Do, 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 do. Why did I suddenly sing the theme to Romancing the Stone? I'm not sure. Romancing the Stone with Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner, a.k.a. Jack T. Colton and Joan Wilder. Joan Wilder? The Joan Wilder? I love Romancing the Stone. Romancing the Stone's great. And then they did Romancing the Stone 2, and then they did War of the Roses. Was that the other one Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner did together with Danny DeVito, I believe? I think it was War of the Roses. Anyway, Romancing the Stone, I watched that one when I was young. What year? Romancing the Stone, IMDb. What year did that come out? 1984. Yeah, I was like 11 years old when that movie came out. Good grief. Yeah. Oh, you're right, Josh. I'm glad you brought that up. I like Romancing the Stone a lot. The sequel wasn't bad. I didn't think the sequel was bad, but I really did like Romancing the Stone. Okay. Curtis Lopez writes, supposedly Hasbro announced Bumblebee is a reboot. Yeah, somebody else was saying that a little bit earlier. I look at it because going into Bumblebee, I'd said, hey guys, Bumblebee's a reboot. We've heard this many times. Bumblebee's a reboot. Bumblebee's a reboot. Bumblebee's a reboot. And then I saw the movie and I'm like, huh. You can clearly say it is a reboot, but if you if you make an argument that no, it's just a prequel with some minor continuity differences, they've just changed a couple of continuity things, but it's still prequel, I would go, well, yeah, there's an argument to be made for that. There is an argument to be made for that. And yeah, so I went into Bumblebee 100% I thought for sure it was a reboot. And then I saw the movie and I'm like, I still think it's a reboot, but you can make a valid argument that it's a prequel with a few, continuity changes and continuity errors. But I haven't heard that Hasbro put the final stamp on it and say, yes, it was definitely a reboot. If they have, I have a feeling they purposefully made the Bumblebee movie a little ambiguous and they could make up their minds later. And now they're going, now we know what we want to do with the Bumblebee sequel, and it's totally out of continuity with the rest of the Transformers. So Bumblebee was a reboot, everybody. But if their idea for the Bumblebee sequel was more in line with the continuity of the other films, they would have said, oh, it's a prequel, everyone. It's a prequel. So maybe now they've come up with their idea for a sequel, and it's totally different from the other Transformers continuity. So now they are finally putting a final stamp on it and saying, reboot. Whatever. I don't care. Bumblebee was a great movie. Paramount did a great job. They put in a great director, and they made a great little film that I enjoyed deeply. I really, really like Bumblebee. Ryan Lohner writes, Xavier's saying, I'm sorry, as he leaves the hotel. Some of Patrick Stewart's best acting ever. Look, I'm telling you what. Patrick Stewart in Logan should have been nominated for an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. It was, I think, and this is saying a lot when you think about the career of Patrick Stewart, I think him in Logan was the best performance of his career. And you will never convince me that he shouldn't have at least been nominated for an Academy Award. He was brilliant. He was better in that movie than even Hugh Jackman was as Wolverine. I really believe that, and I think he should have been nominated. Anyway, Javier Riaz 405 writes, where do we go? Rank the Burton Schumacher Batman films. I don't like ranking. I will tell you that the best one is the first Batman movie. The first Tim Burton Batman movie out of that group of films is the best Batman movie. That's the one I'll put at the top for sure all day. Okay. Let's see. Javier Riaz follows up with, says, also, I think I would have liked to have seen the Batman triumphant with Scarecrow as the main villain and supposedly a returning Jack Nicholson. It all depends on the story they get. Look, they moved on. I think it's okay that they moved on. But, oh my God, Jack. It's, Jack is, like, a lot of people forgot about how great Jack is as Joker once Heath Ledger's Joker came about. And I get it. Heath Ledger's Joker was awesome, but there are still people who believe Jack's Joker was even better. Now, I lean towards the Heath Ledger Joker, but there are a lot of people who still believe Jack's Joker is the best one ever. And it's hard to argue against it. Jack's Joker was so good. So good. And the idea of maybe him doing another one, I don't know how you explain that, but I'd be down. I would have been down for it for sure. All right, Santez Henderson writes, am I the only one in our community that gets tired of film theories and rumors? Some sites use them for headlines, and I don't think that's newsworthy. Fan theories aren't news, and they shouldn't be used as it. Well, look, as film fans, I'll say this, Santez. As film fans, one of the most fun things to do as film fans, is to talk about our theories and our ideas and to talk about the different rumors that are out there. It's a fun thing to engage in. We like to imagine, and believe me, the studios love that we get involved because that means we're invested in their movie universe, right? Whether it's Bond or MCU or Jason Bourne or Harry Potter or DCEU or Star Wars or whatever, studios love it because that means you're invested in their films. And we love to speculate. We love to speculate and have theories and ideas, and it's just kind of our way of playing in that sandbox a little bit. Now, should sites run with those as headlines? I don't know. I mean, as long as, I don't know that I have a particular big problem with it, as long as their headlines don't make it look like, oh, this is news. Like, I don't know, Jack Nicholson returning as Joker. that you run that headline, that sounds like, oh, Jack Nicholson is returning as Joker, but it's really of a story about why we think Jack Nicholson should return as the Joker. I mean, then that's clickbaity, but I think as long as why we think Jack Nicholson could return as the Joker, okay, I have no problems with people putting up a theory story. Like, I want to do a video or write a story about a theory of mine, and I want to share it with our audience. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. As long as it's not disguised as a news story. As long as it's not disguised as a news story, I'll tell you what, Santos, I don't have a problem with it. And having theories and all that kind of stuff, I don't think fans should be poo-pooed on for having theories and talking about it. Now, you got to be careful that you don't get so invested in your own theories that if the movie doesn't do my theory, then I'm not going to like it. Like, you got to make sure you don't go to that point. But yeah, I think just talking about theories and stuff like that's part of the fun. I think we all do it, and I think it's okay as long as you don't cross certain lines. Then I think it's fine. Santez Henderson writes, why have theories and set yourself up to be angry? Well, I don't think you necessarily set yourself up to be angry just by having theories, as long as you don't get so invested in those theories that I will only like this movie if they do what I think they should do in it. As long as you don't get to that point, then it's perfectly fine. Like, look, I know a lot of people that had a lot of theories about Infinity War, and ain't none of their theories came true, and they still loved Infinity War, right? They still loved Infinity War. I had a lot of theories about The Last Jedi. Some of them came true, some of them didn't. But it didn't affect my enjoyment or lack thereof of the movie. And I think that's why most fans do it. But yes, you're right, Santez. Some fans get so invested in their own theories that now it's a sword they're willing to fall on. Like, I am now so invested in this that I'm going to die on this line if they don't cross that line. And that's where it gets unhealthy. But just going, like sitting down and going, okay, look, how do they bring everybody back? Do they do time travel? Do they do reality warping? Does it have to do with the quantum realm? Does it have to do with getting the broken down gauntlet back and using the stones to do something? Does it have something to do with Captain America? Samuel L. Jackson said Captain America has the power, or that Captain Marvel has the power to time travel. Is she the one who does? Blah. It's cool for us to have these discussions and talk about it, as long, again, as we don't get so invested in them that we cross a line mentally of going, well, now I so believe in this theory that if they do anything other than this theory, I'm not going to like it. That's a stupid place to be. And we catch ourselves in that sometimes. I think we all do. But other than that, just engaging in it, perfectly fine, I think. Perfectly fine. Part of the fun. All right. Haskell 420 writes, hi John, last year I told you that you had to see the incredibly beautiful yet sad doc, Be Here Now, by and about Andy Whitfield on Netflix. See it yet? No. I don't remember you telling me about it last year, but I know somebody else brought it up earlier last week. Maybe you meant last week and maybe it was you. I still haven't seen it. Andy Whitfield, for those of you who don't know, is the original guy to play Spartacus in the television series. And then he had to leave the show because of cancer. And then it looked like he was going to come back to the show because he had beaten it. And then all of a sudden he died as a result. Super sad. My friend, Erin Cummings, who I've had on the show a couple of times, my friend Erin Cummings worked with Andy. She played his wife on Spartacus. And she was just devastated by that. And I know a lot of people were, and I know a lot of fans. But no, I still haven't had a chance to sit down. The hours of my day are very precious. Haven't had a chance to watch it, but believe me, I intend on watching that. I do want to see it. Ben Rayner writes, I think actor John Doe would be great in that new film coming out. The one about chef making eggs and ketchup. When is the trailer coming out? Very funny, Ben. Very funny. Everybody likes to rub this damn ketchup and eggs. Why does anybody do that to yourselves? I judge you. Anyway, Luke1234 writes, what service or software did you use to make digital copies of your DVDs? Please help us in the process of figuring that out. It's been a long time. 10, 11, 12 years ago, there was tons of DVD ripping software where you could make a digital copy of your Blu-ray or whatever, your DVD. But I haven't owned DVDs. I haven't bought new DVDs in ages. I cannot remember what it was. I cannot remember, but there were tons of them at the time that did that. But like I stopped buying them. I stopped buying physical DVDs, so I haven't had a need to use any software like that in ages. So I cannot remember, Luke. Sorry about that. I cannot remember. I'm sure it'll be easy to find tons of software that does that, because there were tons of them over a decade ago. So I've got to believe there must be tons now. I just have no use for them anymore, and so I can't remember which one it was. Let's see. John Hine writes, I just found out my friend Jake put ketchup on his eggs, mac and cheese. Oh, and steak. Can you set him straight? Okay, look, I've seen people put ketchup on steak. I'm not going to judge that so harshly, because some people like different types of sauces with their steak, whether it's Worcestershire sauce or whether it's barbecue sauce or whether it's even some people ketchup. Okay, fine if you do. But eggs? I'll never get that. Mac and cheese? Why would you have this glorious mac and cheese and want to put ketchup on that and ruin it? But eggs is the one that makes me want to vomit just when I think about it. It just makes me, I get this gag reflex thing. I just want to vomit when I think about it. Anyway, Robert Tari writes, Hey, John, I love Sons of Anarchy as you do. Just wondering what made it one of your favorite series all time? The characters, the story, biker life? I think what initially really got me into it, and I think this is true of a lot of guys, there's this, it's the same kind of dynamic as with Entourage. Wait a minute. How are you comparing Entourage to Sons of Anarchy? Well, hear me out. I think one of the things that attracted a lot of people to Entourage was the lifestyle porn of it, right? People watch to vicarious, because people love the notion of living the celebrity lifestyle, living that celebrity life. And every week you got to turn on Entourage and live vicariously through the guys. You're hanging out the guys, this Hollywood lifestyle and blah, 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 right? I felt like that when I first moved to LA. Like I did. I think there is a lifestyle porn element, particularly for men, but I believe for women as well, but in Sons of Anarchy, because I think deep down, men, and I'm not speaking for everybody, I'm not a sociologist, I'm just saying my personal belief is that deep down, men yearn to belong to a brotherhood that is unquestionably and unbreakably loyal to each other. I think there's that notion that deep down, all if not most men want to feel that, have that kind of bond with other men, an unbreakable, unyielding, unshakable loyalty to each other, that I will kill for you and I will die for you, right? I think there's that in there. And so when Sons of Anarchy comes out and portrays this group of men who are messed up and flawed, just like all of us, but they have this unbreakable bond. It's a ride or die, which is why the seasons that I disliked the most were the seasons where their bonds were broken. I still love the show, but that was my least loved seasons because it broke those bonds. And when the bonds became reestablished and that loyalty was there to each other again, I got back into it. And I think ultimately that was one of the things that as a man really attracted me to. But the characters were all multidimensional and deep. There was no pure good and pure bad guys. The good guys had demons. The bad guys had soft spots. The stories of it, the way they set it up, going back from the original riders in the going back to Jax's parents, particularly his father, who established the Sons of Anarchy and blah, and the mythology of the table and all. So much appealed to me about it, so much. But that lifestyle porn part of it, of belonging to an unbreakable, unshakable brotherhood, that was pretty big for me. I can't speak for other people, but for me, that was a big attraction to me at first as a viewer. All right. Akeem writes, is there a movie you swore was great as a child, but now you realize is a total streaming stink pile of dog crap? For me, it's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. As a child, I couldn't accept my beloved TMNT could do anything wrong. Woo! Man, the closest thing I came to that was a movie I made myself. I made this with a group of friends and a group of people. I made a Star Wars fan film called Star Wars Rise of the Trades. was the name of it. Rise of the Trades. This is like 15 years ago. We made this movie. And I remember loving it, being so proud of it. We did theatrical screenings for it. We won awards for it. And I just remember that. Then it had been like over 10 years since I'd watched it. And I didn't even have a copy of it anymore. And then my buddy, Rodney Brazeau, he emails me one day saying, John, I was cleaning through some stuff and I still have a copy of Rise of the Trades. I'm like, please send it to me. Because I'd never shown it to Anne. This is just a couple years ago. I'd never showed it to Anne, and I told her about how great this movie was and how proud I was of it. Woo! And she's sending me a new copy, Rise of the Trades. I can't wait to get my hands on it, blah, 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 blah. She sends it to me. Rodney sends it to me. I sit down with Anne. I'm so excited to watch it. And I put it on. And it's so bad. It's so bad. Oh, my God, it's so bad. And I'm like, what? Is this the same movie I remember playing in packed theaters and people screaming and cheering? Is this the same movie? I remember just feeling like I'm destined to be an Academy Award winning filmmaker because this thing's so good. Because I'm watching this thing, it's like, oh my God, this is so awful. This is so bad. And I still have it. But like even our friends, like our friend Kaori, she's like, when are you guys going to show me this Rise of the Trades? I'm like, never again will this thing see the light of day. So really the closest thing it came for me is my own movie that I made that I remember thinking it was so great. And today I watch it, I'm like, oh my God, never let this see the light of day again. That's the closest thing I've come. All right. Orange Hand writes, did your Incredible Hulk character survive the snap? I've been asked that before. I think I had like 3 different characters in the movie, so I'm going to assume at least one of them did. The law of averages, since only half the people were wiped out, and I was assumedly 3 different characters in the 3 different scenes I was in, I'm going to assume at least one of them survived. I got to assume at least one of them survived. All right, Robert Tari writes, which conclusion has the most pressure to deliver for you in 2019? Star Wars, Avengers, or Toy Story? Star Wars. Star Wars does, because I love Star Wars the most, so that's the biggest pressure, but also because Toy Story is coming off of a universally beloved Toy Story 3, right? So if they put out one that isn't so good, whatever. We'll be disappointed, but it's not going to wreck shop, you know? Avengers Endgame is coming off of the universally beloved Avengers Infinity War. And the massive hot streak that Marvel has been on. If Endgame's not good, if Endgame doesn't stick the landing, whatever, it'll be a bump in the road. We'll be disappointed. Well, we'll be really disappointed because everybody's hopes are really high. But for me, it'll be, it's a bump in the road. Bump in the road. Marvel will survive. It'll be fine. Star Wars Episode 9 is coming off of Star Wars Episode 8, which was not universally beloved. A lot of people liked it. A lot of people didn't. It is clearly not a universally beloved film. I think that alone makes the greatness of Episode 9 that much more important. Toy Story 4 disappoints? Bump in the road. We'll get over it. We'll be disappointed. We'll get over it. Avengers Endgame sucks? It will be hugely disappointing. Hugely disappointing. But we'll get over it. It's a bump in the road. Right? We're coming off a super strong point with Infinity War. We'll be fine. We'll be disappointed. We might cry a lot. But if Endgame sucks, we'll get over it because the brand is still super, super strong. It'll be one bump in the road coming off of a universally beloved film like Infinity War. Star Wars Episode 9, I'd say it's most important for Episode 9 because it is not coming off a universally beloved film. And I liked it. I know a ton of you did, but there's a ton of people that didn't. And even I, who liked it, I got issues with it. And I'm willing to guess some of you who liked it probably had issues with it too. I think it's just fair to say it was not universally beloved. I think that at least we can all agree on that, right? And because of that, I think the importance of it, them really knocking it out of the park with Episode 9 is that much more important. So I'm going to say the most pressure's on Star Wars. Endgame flops? disappointing. We'll cry about it, but we'll get over it because it's in this position of strength still. Toy Story falls on its face, whatever. We'll be disappointed. We'll cry about it a little, but whatever. The rest of them were brilliant. And we just came off Toy Story 3, brilliant. Star Wars Episode 9, yeah, it's not only got to be great in its own sense, it's got to win some people back. So I would say Star Wars for that purpose. For that purpose, I would say Star Wars. All right. All right, guys, listen, I'm going to do this right now. Like I said, I don't have all day like I do sometimes. We've been going for about an hour and 15 minutes. I am right now going to slap up this little, please no more super chats. Okay, please no more super chats. If you have not sent in a super chat yet, let's see. Okay. If you have not sent in a super chat yet, please do not send in any more. I'm going to finish off all the super chats we have, and then we'll wrap up the show. Now, what I'm going to do, since we're going for about an hour and 15 minutes, guys, if you do not mind, my drink is now run dry. My throat's getting a little bit sore. I'm going to take a 3 or 4 minute break, if you guys will so indulge me, to allow me to take a 3 or 4 minute break. And when we come back from that break, we will jump in with Javier Riaz and we'll start with his question. Again, if you've not sent in a super chat yet, please don't send in any more. We will finish off the ones we have. And we will be back in 3 or 4 minutes to continue on with our open mic today. I'll be right back. All right, everybody, and we are back. Thanks for being here. And thank you, of course, for indulging me as I took a little bit of a break to refill my drink and get things going again. All right, let's dive right back into it. And again, I'm going to ask guys, if you haven't sent in a super chat already, and I'm going to try to get through as many as I can. Hopefully I'll get through all of them. But since I can't guarantee I'm going to get to any more, please don't send in any more super chat at this point. And if you do, fine. If you want to send in another super chat, fine. Just understand that if you do send in a super chat now, it might have to wait until a companion video, okay? But anyway, that being said, let's keep going here. Okay, Javier Rios writes, Happy Death Day 2 didn't do well at the box office. Well, did it? The production budget of Happy Death Day 2 was $9 million. Happy Death Day 2, actually, let me bring up here. I believe made over $9 million. Happy Death Day 2, hold a second. Happy Death Day 2U made $9.8 million opening weekend. $9.8 million. Its worldwide total right now is $25 million on a $9 million budget. Guess what? This movie, in about a day or two, is already going to be profitable. How weird is that? It's still going to be profitable. Look, Happy Death Day was, I think the original one had like a 20-something million dollar opening, which is crazy. But I'm going to tell you right now, the trailers for Happy Death Day 2 have not looked, I don't think they've looked all that good. I was excited to see it just because it's a sequel to Happy Death Day. But to be honest, I didn't think the trailers looked any good. It just kind of looked like the first movie over again. Now, I'm hearing from a lot of people that they like it even more than the first one, and that's great. I can't wait to see it. But yeah, the reality is the marketing didn't look great, so I'm not terribly surprised. But look, it's already made $25 million worldwide on a $9 million budget. Its opening weekend already exceeded its budget. So for a little film like this, I don't think they're going to be complaining. I mean, it's disappointing that it makes like $10 million when the last one made 20 plus. But again, the marketing did not do this movie any favors. So I'm not terribly surprised, but it's still a win. It's still a win for these guys. All right. RSN2277 writes, Hey, John, love your show and always turn to it for many years. Thanks so much, RSN. I appreciate that. If BVS was as good as Avengers, would it have made over $2 billion? And what impact would it have had on the DCEU? Well, if the movie was great, would it have made $2 billion? No. Because unfortunately, and fairly or unfairly, the DCEU was not on strong ground when Justice League came out. Yes, Wonder Woman had just come out. That's great. But Batman versus Superman, not universally loved. Man of Steel, not universally loved. Suicide Squad, not universally loved. So do I think if magically Justice League was as good as Avengers, would it have made $2 million? No. It would still have had too big of an uphill battle. But $1 billion becomes a possibility. $1 billion becomes a possibility. Sure. $2 billion? No. That was just too far. There was just, even if it was like best picture of the year, it wouldn't have made $2 billion because it was already behind the 8 ball too much, with a lot of people already being turned off by the DCU, unfortunately. And again, that's fair or unfair, but it is what it is. But $1 billion? Yeah. Easy. Could have made $1 billion easy. What impact would that have had on the DCU moving forward? Not really sure. Ben Affleck was already gone, so that no change would have happened there because Ben Affleck was already out the door. Henry Cavill and more Superman stuff. We might already know of a Man of Steel 2 coming out if Justice League had been a big hit. If Justice League had been a big hit, we might already be talking about Man of Steel 2. And I think that's the big difference that would have made at this point. All right, Chris Warden writes, do you think we will ever find out what really caused the rift between Affleck and Warner Brothers that caused him to leave Batman? Personally, I thought he did a great job. Oh, I thought he did a great job too. Affleck, I thought, was a great Batman. He is a great director. I know he would have written, we've already heard that his script was fantastic. And Affleck, despite what he says, Affleck loved his script. He loved it so much, he was already putting out publicly his test screenings with Joe Manganiello as Deathstroke. That's how much he loved his script. Don't believe any of this PR bullshit you start hearing now. Affleck loved his script. And we hear from other people in Warner Brothers that the script was great. Will we ever know publicly? I've heard whispers from some reliable people about what it caused, but I can't say that it's true for sure. So I'm not even going to talk about it. Maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong. I don't think they'll ever publicly state what went down. Like maybe someday when Affleck is 65 and he's writing his memoirs, maybe he'll reveal everything that went down. Maybe it had a lot to do with his substance abuse problems. Maybe it had to do with some real dickish behavior from the studio. Maybe it had to do with something else that was got. Who knows? I've heard whispers, but I'm not going to talk about them because I don't know that they're true and they can be damaging to some people. So I'm not going to say it. But, and again, I'm not keeping anything from you because I don't know that it's true what I heard. So maybe someday, but I don't expect that we'll know anytime soon. I don't think we'll know anytime soon. All right. Richard Karate writes, thoughts on Hotel Artemis. Disappointed. I thought that was a movie with Jodie Foster, Dave Bautista. I mean, it had a fun cast. I thought the premise was a little like The Continental, had a little bit of a Continental feel. This place where only the super underground, it's a hospital for super underground criminals when they can't go to the hospitals, right? It's a great idea. Great idea. And it had its upsides. But overall I was kind of disappointed with it. I'm Upset writes, does the 1990 film Shazam with Sinbad exist? Wait, so what is that? Hold on a second. What movie are we talking about? I don't know what we're talking about, to be honest with you. So I can't comment on it. KW writes, when you directed your movie, what was the most challenging aspect? Ooh. Most challenging aspect directing the movie? I think for me, it was cinematography. And that's why I had a cinematographer there to do the cinematography. That to me was the most challenging thing, really knowing the right shots. And I think that's where you can see, because the cinematographer will suggest to the director what the shots should be, but ultimately it's the director's responsibility to approve those shots. Like Deakins doesn't tell the director what shots they're going to do. Deakins says, I think we need to do this. Or Deakins will say to his director, here are our options. I think this, and this is what I would recommend. And then the director will go, yes, let's do that. Or the director will go, no. Yeah, that one's good, but I want to go with this one, right? Ultimately, it's them. And I think where a lot of the weaknesses of my film are the cinematography choices, because I think that was challenging. I think a lot of directors will say working with actors, but I think I had such a good time working with the actors, and some of the actors were actually friends of mine already. So that wasn't challenging. That was fun. But I think the cinematography. All right. Next up, Cameron W. writes, thoughts on the acting in Glengarry Glen Ross. What? It's iconic. The acting in Glengarry Glen Ross is iconic. Filled with iconic legendary actors. The acting in Glengarry Glen Ross is awesome. That's kind of like saying, Cameron, what are your thoughts on The Godfather? He's one of the greatest films of all time. Yeah, the acting in Glengarry Glen Ross is great. And by the way, listen to Cameron here. If you guys have not seen Glengarry Glen Ross, coffee's for closers. If you guys have not watched Glengarry Glen Ross, ABC, always be closing. Watch Glengarry Glen Ross. If you haven't seen it, put that one on your list. As a film fan, you got to have this one in your film repertoire. So follow Cameron's lead there. Make sure you watch it. KW writes, I already read KW's question, of course. Richard Karate writes, thoughts on the Eddie Murphy movie Showtime. I liked Showtime. It's funny. I think I mentioned Showtime a week or so ago. I liked Showtime. I thought it was pretty good. With Robert De Niro and I believe William Shatner appears in that. Does he not? Hold on a second. I believe William Shatner appears in that one. I'm almost positive he does. Do, 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 do. Let's see here. Yeah, William Shatner appears. I liked it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was funny. Was it great? No, but I had a good time with it. Dim-Sum05 writes, I don't know what you're talking about, GC. Shaft 2000 is amazing. Jeffrey Wright as Peoples Hernandez is terrifying. Bale is a great villain too. Hey, look, Dim Sum, that's why it's all subjective. I wasn't a big fan of, and I know other people like it too. Like Rob loves both the Richard Roundtree Shaft and the Samuel L. Jackson Shaft. Loves them both, so he can't wait for this third one. Obviously, the Roundtree Shaft is classic. I just, man, I wish I did. I wish I liked it more because I'm a big Samuel L. Jackson fan, but I wasn't that big on Shaft. I mean, Samuel L. Jackson is a dude in my eyes can basically do no wrong, but that's one film of his that didn't quite work for me. Didn't quite work. To me, if you really want to see like an homage to the original Shaft, watch Michael Jai White's Black Dynamite. That movie is killer. But it's all subjective, and your opinion is no less valid than mine. All right. Godzilla Love Campea writes, which of these Joker roles are more iconic for the actors to play? Joker, Batman, Superman, or 007? Which of these roles are more iconic for actors to play? I don't know. I'll go 007. I'll go 007. 007 is a character that actors, I mean, look, actors playing Superman goes back decades and decades and decades and decades and decades and decades, long before you and I were born. But I think there's a little something more iconic to 007. And it's a who's who. Like, you can probably name all the people who've played 007. Can't say that really about Superman. Maybe, but I would actually go on, and I'm not saying 007 is my favorite franchise out of any of those, but yeah, I'm going to guess 007 would probably be the most iconic you could do. Richard Karate writes, have you heard anything about that Conan movie Arnold was supposed to be returning to, and do you think it's actually going to happen now? I don't think it's going to happen. I hope it does, and I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but as more and more time passes, this is a movie they should have made a couple of years ago. This is a movie that should have already happened and been done years ago. So, my understanding is that Arnold still says it's going to happen, but he's been saying that for years. And then another year passes, and then another year passes. I don't know, guys. I'm just at the point that I'm going to be surprised if it does. I'm certainly not saying it's not going to happen. I'm not saying that. But right now, I got to say I'll be surprised if it does. I'll be pleasantly surprised if it does, but I'll be surprised if it does. Let's see. Cade W. writes, I love Willy Wonka 1971 and enjoyed Gene's Wilder improv, such as his limp with the cane and the fallen roll. Though, thoughts on that scene and movie? I'm trying to remember the exact scene. I mean, remember, look, everybody loves the original Gene Wilder Willy Wonka. I mean, everybody loves that. It's funny because I'm not a fan of Tim Burton, the director, but I do like his Willy Wonka incarnation as well. Not as good as the original, not as good as Gene Wilder's. No, I'm not suggesting that at all. But it's funny that out of all the Tim Burton films that I don't really like, I do like his Willy Wonka movie, oddly enough. So there's that. Richard Karate writes, Charlie Cox Daredevil versus Bale's Batman. Who wins? Bale's Batman, because it's Batman. Just end of discussion. Batman beats Superman, for heaven's sakes. So don't get me wrong. Anything like that. But Bale, I'll take Bale's Batman over Charlie Cox's Daredevil. But I do love Charlie Cox's Daredevil very, very much. KW writes, since Guardians 2 hinted at Adam Warlock after the credits, do you think he may show up in some form in Endgame? No. Or is the movie already too stuffed? The movie's already too stuffed. But I will say this. With half the characters dead, it'll give the movie more room to breathe. But I do not think Adam Warlock is going to show up in this movie. I do not think he's showing up in this movie in any way, shape, or form. I'm also not sure he ever shows up in the MCU. Maybe he will. I'm not even convinced, by the way, that James Gunn even had plans for him. I just don't know. Maybe he's in the Guardians 3 script. Maybe not. But yeah, I don't think Adam Warlock's going to show up. Again, that's just me speculating. I don't have Kevin Feige emailing me and telling me he's not going to be there, but I just don't think he will be. Who knows? Well, let's wait and see. Maybe he will pop up. Edgar Navarro writes, the Oscars missed out on opening their show with The Greatest Showman, but the Brit Awards are going to open with it, and I'm super excited. I don't even know what the Brit Awards are, but I am totally in agreement, Edgar. I said this last year. it would be a great idea to open the Oscars with The Greatest Show, because that fits the Oscars. It fits the Oscars. This is the greatest show. Boom. Like, it's a perfect fit for the Oscars. And I'm completely in agreement. They totally missed an opportunity. And I don't know what the Brit Awards are, but it's a great idea to start the show with This is the Greatest Show. It's a perfect fit for an award show. I'm Upset writes, over under 40% Jumanji 3, I call it Jumanji 2, makes $1 billion. I don't know. That first one kind of overperformed. But I'll take the over on 40%. 40% is low. So I'll take the over on 40% that the Jumanji sequel, I don't call it Jumanji 3. I call it Jumanji 2. I think this one, over 40%, it makes $1 billion. I'm not willing to put money on it making $1 billion, but at 40%, yeah, I'll take the over on that. All right. Kian Shingler writes, regarding yesterday, great choice with the Rocky scene. Oh, yeah. Mine is Mufasa. Really brought home the responsibility we share to be the best versions of ourselves. Of the three, what made you choose Rocky? I think the thing that made me choose the Rocky scene was that there were, within the one speech, there are two things. Within the one speech, there's a lot of very memorable moments in the speech. Not the least of which, of course, is life ain't about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Really think about that line. It's profound. But I also think because it was the most relatable. There was a man talking to his son. And, it was Sylvester Stallone talking to Milo Ventimiglia, who was playing his son. And there was just something more tangible and relatable with it because of that. It was just two regular human men on a human street in Philadelphia talking about life and the dad trying to impart some kind of life lesson to the son. And there's something in that I just found it most relatable. And the fact that we have known these characters and this particular character for so many years. Like, I grew up with Rocky. My whole life, there's been a Rocky. As long as I can remember, Rocky has been there, right? So there was that added to it as well. So that's why I think that's the one to me that really sits in there, and why that one to me hits a little bit harder, because it's from a character I've grown up with another character. It wasn't always played by Milo Ventimiglia, but the character of Rocky's son, we've seen him grow up, and just a father and son talking in the middle of the street so passionately. That's what really made it hit home for me. A little bit more effectively than those other great lines that you brought up, for sure. But that's why that one for me kind of hit home a little bit more, Kian. Great question. All right. Joshua Howard writes, I feel Reign of Fire is very underrated, and it's an interesting and original concept. You don't see a lot of those today, in my opinion. I don't know. If it is underrated, I'm one of the people that underrate it. I didn't think it was all that good. There are great moments in Reign of Fire. And the cast is stupid ridiculous. Because you can go look back on that. It's Matthew McConaughey. It's Christian Bale. I mean, it's dragons and stuff. And it was different at the time. We hadn't really seen something like it at the time. I still don't think that makes up from its lack of overall quality. But that's just my opinion. That's why it didn't work for me. So I don't consider it underrated. But I'm probably one of the case studies why you believe it is underrated. Because there are people like me who don't give it a lot of credit. But I've got a couple friends who really dig Reign of Fire. I got a couple friends who really dig it. And so you're in good company, Joshua. All right. Jonathan Teft writes, thoughts on A24. I think they make some of the most unique movies of the year, and I'm always excited to see what they make next. Very few of their movies I think are bad. My favorite is The Lobster's great. By the way, The Lobster's wonderful. A24 makes some great films. They also make some pretty bad films. I've seen some of the films that are quite bad, but they also make some great ones. They are one of these studios that are kind of in the same vein as a Blumhouse, right? One of these studios that aren't one of the majors. They're not, like Annapurna is another one, by the way, that aren't Paramount, Disney, Warner Brothers, Universal, Fox, RIP Fox, or even that other upper echelon like Lionsgate or something like that. They're that next tier down of studios that have really been keeping the art of film alive and been doing a great job of making lower budget films that are great films. films that get us talking and enjoying it. And A24 is definitely one. They put out some magnificent films, not all of them great, but they put out some truly, truly great ones. And I love A24. I love A24. All right. Synced Up writes, have you heard any new, I'm going to guess you mean news. Have you heard any news about that old Minecraft movie? It was announced years ago and has gone through a lot of changes and now it's silent. Yeah, not a thing. I remember them saying reports coming out about a Minecraft movie. And it kind of made sense because it was a very hot property for a time. There was a lot of stuff going on around it and it was a hot IP, made sense. But yeah, I've heard nothing synced up. I've heard nothing in a long time about it. Like, not a thing. So, yeah, I've heard nothing else. It's still, look, Minecraft isn't as hot as it used to be. Now everything's Fortnite. But I think it still makes sense to do a Minecraft movie. I still think it's an IP, even for people who don't play it now. A lot of people played that game in its different variations and its different incarnations. I think you're still in a window of time when you can do that movie. I think you're still in a window of time where you can do that movie. But again, Synced, I've heard nothing. So I don't know if it's dead. I don't know if it's in development hell. I don't know if they've just very quietly made progress on it. At this point, I don't know anything else. But as soon as I hear anything, I will let you guys know. All right. Sharon Carter writes, hey, cutie, I am cute. I am so good looking. It's crazy. I look in the mirror every day and go, oh my God, can one man be this attractive? And I know that's what you guys think too. You turn on your YouTube channel with me on it, you hit play, and you're instantly taken aback for a second. It's like, my God, how can one mortal man be that attractive? It's tough. It's a big question. A lot of people try to wonder that. Hey, Ann, can you come here a sec? Ann just walked in the house. I'm doing a show live. She just loves it when I ask her to come on when I'm doing a show live. But it's true. It's true. It's something that a lot of people have to deal with and wrestle with, and the question is always very big. Hon, come on in here for a second. Big question. You know, somebody mentioned about how cute I am in the show. And you know that's one of my favorite topics, about how good looking I am. So come on, step in the camera so people actually know you're here. So, Ann, I got to ask you. Like, I know you and I both, we look at me every day and we think, how can anybody be that attractive, right? Like, it's kind of stunning. Like I can only imagine you must pinch yourself all the time when you see me and think about how lucky you are to be here with me. How would you explain this aberration of nature, that such natural perfection comes together in one package like me? Speak your words of wisdom, honey. She's thinking hard. She's speechless. Okay. That's how much it. All right, I'll let you go. That's how profound it is. It even leaves Anne speechless, ladies and gentlemen. It leaves her speechless. Okay. So let's get down to the actual question here. Thoughts on Dragon? Oh, the Bruce Lee story, Dragon. I loved Dragon. I thought Jason Scott Lee was really good in that. What the hell's going on over here? Anyway, Jason Scott Lee was really good in that. I think it's Lauren Holly was in that too. I really liked Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. I had a good time with that. I thought it was quite good. Now, there's a lot of different movies that are quasi-biographies on Bruce Lee. A lot of them come out. But that was one that I actually thought was one of the better ones, to be honest with you. All right. Let's see. Synced Up. Where were we at? Oh, sorry. We had the jump. There's the jump. Oh boy. La la la. Okay, there's the Conan movie question. All right, here we go. And guys, I'm going to let you know, I've seen how much of a jump we just had. I am not going to get through all the questions today. So there's going to be some that are going to be held off until a companion video that I'll have to put together. I'm just giving you guys a heads up right now. I'm not going to be able to get to all of them because I'm seeing we've got a lot more than I thought. But let's keep going. I still got some energy in me here. Synced Up writes, been watching you since the AMC days. Thank you so much, Synced Up. And you are still my most favorite person to watch. Thanks, man. I'll put your live stream on while I go to work, play a game, when I animate, draw, eat, dinner, etc. Well, thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate that. And it is crazy how many people I hear from that say, like, we get a number of people say, hey, we just found your channel, been watching you for a while, and blah, 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 blah. And that's awesome. And it's great to hear, and I'm humbled by that. But it is crazy how many people tell me they've been like tuned in since the AMC days, which is just crazy to me. But it makes me so thankful. And thank you so much, Synced Up. I really appreciate that. That means a lot, man. So thanks for being a watcher, and thanks for being a supporter, dude. All right. Randy Lando writes, my girlfriend and I thank you for recommending Lucifer, and I thank you for watching. Man, I love that show. I love that show. Cannot wait. And I think Ann likes it even more than I do. I cannot wait for that show, season 4, to come back. I'm so curious to see what, being on Netflix, will they go a little more edgy? Will they put a little bit of R-rated material in there? Because it's a very R-rated show done in a PG-13 way because it was on Fox. Now that's on Netflix, will they bring a little bit more? Because it's a very risque show. I hope they do. All right. Jonathan Teft writes, what do you think of Fathom events? There are many classics that I've never seen, and they able to make it so I can get in to see them for the first time on the big screen. This year, I'll get to see Ben-Hur. Love Fathom events. Love that they do stuff like that. And it's not only old classic movies. Like, they do a lot of Mystery Science Theater stuff. They do like the opera. They do a lot of opera events. They'll live broadcast a bunch of opera events. They do a lot of stuff. And I really like that they do, because it's not just the classic movies. They give us as audiences the opportunity to see something on a big screen that maybe otherwise we wouldn't have had the chance to see and enjoy on the big screen, right? It's really great that they do that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I go to Fathom events all the time. No. But I love that those options are there, because even when they're showing stuff that I'm not interested in, I know it's stuff that a lot of other people are interested in. And I think it's great that a company like that is doing the stuff that they're doing. So, yeah, and their classic movie stuff is just one thing. And I've gone to a number of their things. I've gone to another Fathom events. But, yeah, I'm really glad they're around. All right, Synced Up writes, this Friday, I'll finally become one of your Patreons. Well, thank you so much, Synced Up. And make sure you check out the Best of the Week podcast that we do exclusively for our Patrons. Make sure you check that out as well. And thank you, man, again. All right, Richard Karate writes, hey, John, in your opinion, in say the next 5 to 10 years, do you think we will get a big screen Buck Rogers movie? And my mom thinks you're hot, and she always says how lucky Anne is. Just letting you know. I hope you heard that, Anne. People think I'm hot, and that Anne's lucky. That's right. I'm a hell of a man. Anyway, Buck Rogers. Man, when I was a little kid, I would watch reruns of Buck Rogers. And what was the guy's name? Gil Gerard? Was that the guy's name who played Buck Rogers? Gil Gerard? Anyway, I used to love that show. 5 to 10. Like, the world can change in 5 years. I still don't think there's a great chance, even in the next 5 to 10, that we'll see a Buck Rogers movie. But it's very, very difficult to say that, because the world changes in a few years. So it's certainly possible. If I had to put $5 on it, Richard, if I had to bet $5 on whether or not within 10 years we will get a Buck Rogers big screen adaptation of Buck Rogers, I would bet against it. But it's not impossible. It certainly could. I don't feel any hunger out there for a Buck Rogers movie. You know what I'm saying? I think we'll get 2 Flash Gordon movies before we get a Buck Rogers movie. So hopefully I'm wrong. I'd get a kick out of seeing one, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. All right. Joshua Howard writes, will Matt Reeves keep the casting for the Batman villains that already appeared in other DCU films, or will he recast? Kind of seems silly to do so, in my opinion. I honestly don't know, because look, first of all, we don't even know when this Batman movie happens. Is this Batman movie set in the 90s as a young Batman? Well, if then you recast characters and you have different characters, and that's fine. Does it happen modern day and they're rebooting the character? Well, then you recast a lot of the stuff, and that makes sense. Do you do it in modern day, but you don't say it's a reboot? You say it's the same Batman, but you just pretend he wasn't 47 before, and you're just saying now he's 25. Maybe. Then you can still be open to changing. I don't think it's silly to recast. I think if you're recasting one, you can do that. Now, I'm not saying they have to recast. I'm certainly not saying they have to recast, but it's difficult to say, Josh, because like I said, right now, we don't even know when this movie takes place. We don't even know when it happens. All we know is that it's a younger Batman, okay? But that doesn't mean it's going to happen in the past. They can totally break continuity and kind of reset that one thing and say Batman is today, it's the same guy, but now he's 25. It's just the way it is. They could do that. But even then you can recast. Especially since it's not like the characters we've had have been universally loved, right? So why go forward with characters that haven't worked? Recast. Or just do totally different characters. That's probably the best thing to do. Is probably just do totally different characters. So we'll have to wait and see. Michael Jones writes, "Hey, John, I've been watching Lucifer on yours and some other friends' recommendation. Love that show. I'm in the second season and just saw the scene with the yoga studio. Boom. So funny. My all-time favorite scene in Lucifer. My all-time favorite scene in Lucifer. Easily the yoga studio thing. And if for those of you who have not seen it, you're going, what's so big about a yoga studio? For those of you who have seen it, you know exactly what me and Michael are talking about because it is hilarious. And one of the big reasons why I'm like, I can't believe they did that on Fox Network television. I can't believe they got away with doing that on television. And one of the things that kind of makes me hope, wish, and think that maybe they can move things in a little more of an R-rated direction. Maybe they can move things a little bit more in an R-rated direction via Netflix. Guys, watch Lucifer. It's fantastic. It's hilarious. It's very risque, very edgy. And when you get to the yoga studio scene and you pick yourself up off the floor from laughing so hard, email me and thank me. And thank Michael for pointing it back out again. So thanks for bringing that up, Michael. I love that scene. I'm glad you're enjoying the show, man, because I enjoy it too. All right. Richard writes, "Hey, John, thoughts on Airwolf?" Oh, I loved Airwolf. Jan Michael Vincent, the late great, I almost said Wilford Brimley. It wasn't Wilford Brimley. It was, he was in Red. Why am I forgetting? Ernest Borgnine. The late great Ernest Borgnine. Probably the best theme music, not theme song, but theme music. Probably the best theme music ever in television history. A-Teams was good. Knight Riders was good. But Airwolf, that is the greatest opening theme music of any television show either. Even better than Game of Thrones. I mean, the theme music was better than the show, but I liked the show. I had a good time with it. And it came out just after Blue Thunder. So there was the whole idea of a high-tech helicopter show or helicopter stories, because Blue Thunder was a movie, was kind of hot at that time. But yeah, I used to dig Airwolf when I was a kid. Let's see here. Richard also follows up. "John, do you think we'll ever get a live-action Incredibles movie?" I don't know. I've never thought of that. I mean, it works great in animated, so I don't know why you do it live action. I'm going to say no. Now, the argument against that is the fact that Disney seems to be in a little bit of a kick of doing live action stuff of their animated stuff. But they also waited like 14 years for Brad Bird to do another Incredibles. I don't know. I don't even think we're going to get Incredibles 3. But you use the word ever. Right? You say, "John, do you think we will ever get a live action Incredibles?" Well, if you're going to use the word ever, then you can never say anything's impossible. Because who knows what happens in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years or 50 years or 100 years or whatever. So it's a little unfair to put the word ever in there because nothing is impossible if you're going to use the word ever. So let's say, hey, in the next 10 years, do I think we'll get a live action Incredibles? I don't think so. But ever, it's hard to say against that because ever is kind of a all-encapsulating word that you can't really bet against because ever. Everything happens ever. You know what I mean? All right. Derek Woodrin writes, Saw the Pride sitting on my table. It made me remember the interesting mythology. What gave you the idea behind it? Great read, by the way. Thank you so much, Derek. For those of you who don't know, The Pride is the novel that I wrote. I don't know. First of all, I've always loved dragons. So there was that. And the original idea for The Pride, I can't say because I might use it. If I ever do a sequel to The Pride, if I ever write the follow-up book, and I don't know that I will, because I just don't have time. But if I ever write a follow-up book, I might use this story. I would probably use this story hook. So I'm not going to share what the original idea was. But my original idea that had it was a conundrum facing the race of dragons, a problem they were facing. And that was the starting point for me with the book. And then that kind of evolved into something else. And I thought, okay, I'll use this problem later. So I can't really share it yet, but I was in the midst of shooting. I came up with the idea for The Pride when I was shooting my movie, The Anniversary. And that's when I came up with the idea for the story. So, but anyway, thanks for bringing that up, Derek. I really appreciate that. All right. GameLight07 writes, just watched Django Unchained for the first time the other day, and it was awesome. Christoph Waltz was so good. I like the way you die, boy. Chills. I love Christoph Waltz. I believe he won his second Academy Award for that. Because yeah, he got his first one for Inglourious Bastards, and I believe that's where he got his second one was for Django. Love that movie. Actually, you know what? It's a close fight between Inglourious Bastards. Somebody asked me the other day about my favorite Tarantino movie, and I said Inglourious Bastards. But you know what? There's a strong argument to be made for Django Unchained. Django's so good. I'm like you, Gamelight. I love that movie, and Christoph Waltz is so good in it. And like I said, I believe he got an Academy Award for it, deservedly so. And Leo DiCaprio was great in it. The great Samuel L. Jackson was great in it. Everybody was wonderful in that movie, but yeah, great film. Great film. All right. Wesley Cunningham writes, saw Alita yesterday. Actually enjoyed the story and characters so that it wasn't just visual noise. Action was incredible, but that Hugo character that character was bad. And hey, no shade on the kid playing the role. I think the kid did as good of a job as anybody could have with that role. There's no shade on the actor at all. I can't remember the name of the actor who played Hugo. Yeah, that was cringy. And by the way, added to just how terrible of an ending that movie has. That movie has a terrible ending. Like you, I enjoyed the film though. I think overall, at the end of the day, I walked out with a smile on my face. I had a good time. But yeah, not great story. Certainly weak dialogue here and there. And a terrible ending. And by the way, that criticism you're hearing some people saying that I don't like when a movie feels like it was just there to set up future movies. That's definitely there too. And that's unfortunate, which added to how terrible I thought the ending of the film was. But you know what? All that aside, a lot of thrills, great action, tremendous visuals. There's a good entertainment value in the movie, but it's not going to work for everybody. Because like I said, it's a questionable story, some questionable performances. That Hugo character, I don't know what they were thinking. And the ending of the movie was awful. So it's not going to work for all of you, but it worked for me. I still had a good time with it, Wesley. All right. ZCMZ Zombie Custom Maps writes, have you seen The Sisters Brothers? Yes, finally got around to watching The Sisters Brothers. Was not as good as I was hoping. It's good, but it's just, I remember when I first heard about Sisters Brothers, and you look at that cast, right? You look at that cast, and it's a Western. I'm a sucker for Westerns and all this kind of stuff. And I thought the first trailer was great. And it's good. It's good. I was just hoping for more of these. You know what I'm talking? You know, sometimes you watch movies like, okay, that was good, but I will admit I was expecting better. And that's kind of my feelings on The Sisters Brothers. Richard Karate writes, did you see Slaughterhouse Rules? If so, your thoughts. I think I did, but let me just make sure it's the one I'm thinking of. Slaughterhouse Rules. Oh, the one with Margot Robbie. No, I didn't watch it. Nope, I didn't watch it. I see. That's why I need to look these things up, because I have to make sure it's one I did not see. It's got Simon Pegg. I think Pegg might have directed it. Did he direct it? No, sorry, he did not direct it. That was Crispin Mills. So no, I did not watch Slaughterhouse Rules. Did not see it. Okay. Jonathan Teft writes, I usually don't bother seeing movies in 3D, but I did for Alita, and it was cool, but man, did it give me a headache. Gave me a headache too. I hate 3D, and I don't think 3D added anything to Alita. 3D added nothing to that movie. Now, I know there are some of you who feel differently. That's cool. I'm glad you had that experience. But for me, I just kept wishing I could take my glasses off. It was adding nothing to the movie for me, and it was giving me a headache. And whatever, I cannot wait for 3D just to go away. But yeah, I mean, again, Jonathan, though, there are a lot of people who are coming out of Alita going, hey, I love the 3D in that movie. More power to you. That's great. I celebrate that. I'm always happy when somebody had a positive experience in the movie theaters, whether that was because of the popcorn or the movie or the 3D, whatever it is. I'm just glad you enjoyed it. That's all I care about, is that people have a good time in the movies. And if you had a good time, awesome. But from my perspective, Jonathan, that 3D added nothing. Nothing. And like 5 minutes in, I was just wishing I could take the damn glasses off, and it gave me a headache, and it was just, whatever. And the movie didn't lose one thing by not having 3D. So that's just the way I feel about it. But who knows, Jonathan? I think you and I are in the minority, man. I think you and I are in the minority. Richard Karate writes, best lightsaber fight in a Star Wars movie minus Anakin and Obi-Wan on Mustafar from Revenge of the Sith. That's a good fight. The only problem with that fight is that there are a few kind of weird moments, like the higher ground moment, and that one moment when Anakin, at that point his name is now Vader. When Vader is standing across from Obi-Wan, and they sit there and do their spinning with the lightsabers for about 18 seconds. Voo, 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 and it just, you look at your watch, it's still going. Voo, 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 voo. You go up, go use the bathroom, come back, they're still going. Voo, 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 voo. That was really how any editor or director looked at that and didn't say, hey, we should probably shorten that up a bit. Just have them go voo, voo for a second, then get back to fighting. But they literally stood there for about 3 hours. Voo, 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 voo. I went and got popcorn, got some M&Ms, ran into a fan in the lobby, took a picture, came back, and they were still voo, voo. I mean, some really weird decisions. To me, the best lightsaber fight, there's two answers to that. Dramatic impact or pure choreography. On the pure choreography point, I'm going to go the Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Darth Maul fight. That was brilliantly choreographed. Great fight. Twists and turns during the fight with the music score. You got the Duel of the Fates playing. I mean, it just added to this it was a great fight. Dramatically, nothing touches the Luke Vader fight in Return of the Jedi. In the Emperor throne room with all the stuff going on outside, that music in the throne room with the Emperor going, good. I mean, it's just, dramatically, it is the best scene with a lightsaber fight ever. So pure choreography, I'm going to go with the Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, Maul fight. Dramatic impact and just the overall best scene with a lightsaber fight, I'm going to go Vader, Luke in the Emperor's throne room. Okay. Let's move on here. Cinematic Galaxy writes, loved Alita. Honestly, liked the story and characters. I'm glad you did. I'll say this. I liked the Alita character. I did. I know there are a lot of people who didn't think any of the characters were all that great. I thought the Alita character, she won me over. I'll tell you that straight up. That character won me over. I thought the Christoph Waltz's character was a little cliche-ish. The Hugo character was god-awful. A bunch of the hunter killers were just complete one-note, one-dimensional things. Yeah, but I will give credit where it's due. The Alita character herself, I was quite taken with. I really was. I was taken with that character. Richard Karate writes, Anakin from Episode 3 versus Kylo from The Last Jedi. Who is more powerful with the Force, and who would win in a lightsaber fight? Oh, Anakin from Episode 3. Yeah. Anakin from Episode 3 all day, every day. Which character do I like more? I like the Kylo Ren character a little bit more than the Anakin we got in the prequels. But Yeah, Anakin from episode 3. I'll take that one, Richard. I'll take that one pretty easy. Tom Waters writes, "Hey John, other than Affleck being your favorite, in what order do you rank?" Oh, guys, I don't like when you ask me to order things, but what order do you rank the Batman in film? Not the film itself, but the actors. Well, I mean, look, it depends on what you're asking, Tom. Are you asking me who's the best actor? Well, the best actor to play a Batman, I think, is probably Christian Bale. He's the best actor to play the role. Who gave us the best Batman incarnation? That's Ben Affleck. He gave us the best Batman incarnation. I mean, so it really all depends on what the parameters of the question are. You know, are you asking me who's the best actor? Who did the best rendition of Batman? I'm not really sure. So I'll just answer by saying the best pure actor out of the bunch is Christian Bale. The best incarnation of Batman was brought to us by Ben Affleck. So that's the best way I know how to answer that. Richard writes, "A best John Cusack movie, your thoughts?" I love Grosse Pointe Blank. I love Grosse Pointe Blank. Yeah, so that's my favorite John Cusack movie. Edgar Navarro writes, "I don't know if you've played or haven't, but a good single player game is the Tomb Raider series. I picked up the first 2 on sale from the PlayStation Store on sale for $30, and it's totally worth it." I doubt it was the first 2. Because the first 2 are decades, now over a decade old. So I don't think it was the first. I think you mean the first 2 of the new incarnation of it. I haven't played any of the new ones. But I've been told by a few people I should pick it up and give it a shot. And I've got my PlayStation connected on the network, so I can actually play my PlayStation on my computer. Like my PlayStation's in my bedroom, but I can actually play it from here on my computer. And I should probably, that's one, Ray actually told me too that's one I should check out. But I haven't played any of the Tomb Raider ones. I'm still trying to play Spider-Man. Isn't that adorable that I'm still trying to play Spider-Man? I'm so bad at it. But I'm still trying. As a matter of fact, I just started playing Spider-Man again. And because I only got 5%, the counter says I got 5% into the game. Because I hadn't played since before Christmas, the other day I fired it up on my machine here. And I decided, you know what? Because I haven't played in a while, I'm just going to start from scratch. And I start from scratch again. And maybe I'll do a play and chat with me playing that sometime soon. I will keep my eyes open for that. Hold on, let me just double check something here. Okay. So maybe I'll get around to doing that at some point. Maybe I'll do a little play and chat. But Tomb Raider is one that both Ray and a few other people have said I should check out as well, Edgar. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll check those ones out. Jonathan Teft writes, "Who decides if a movie goes straight to DVD or gets a theatrical release?" That would be the distribution company. "I love The Vanishing of Sydney Hall, but I'm sad that no one else saw it because it went straight to DVD. It also had a great cast." I'm not even sure which movie we're talking about here. So hold on, let me pull it up here. The Vanishing of Sydney Hall, 2017 film. I've never even heard of this one. With Logan Lerman. I like Logan Lerman. I like that kid, actually. Ellie Fanning, she's great. Kyle Chandler, Michelle Monaghan, she's great. Blake Jenner. Nathan Lane, I love Nathan Lane. Yeah, it's a good cast. Tim Blake Nelson, I like him too. The people who decide whether it gets a theatrical release or not is the distribution company. The distributors decide, is it worth the money? It's because it costs a lot of money to put a movie in theaters, man. It costs a lot of money to put a movie in theaters. So the distributors have to decide, what is our best way to make profit here? To put it in theaters? Is this a movie that can make money in theaters? Or would we be best off to put it straight to home video? Streaming, DVD, Blu-ray, whatever. And it's the distribution company that makes that decision. Because they're the ones who decide how we're going to distribute it, right? And how we're going to make our money. And if they look at a movie, they might even think a movie's good, but if they don't think we can't get people to the theater, enough people to get out to the theater to watch this, to justify the expense it would cost us to put this movie out in theaters, then they'll go the other way and just put it on home video and think they can make their money that way. So yes, it is the distributors who decide whether or not it goes, where the movie goes once they acquire it. Bellboy Baggins, I like that name, writes, "What could make Hulk angry enough to beat up Thanos mano a mano? Perhaps that scene involves Widow's safety." That's been a big theory for a long time. Even going into Infinity War, people thought at some point in Infinity War, because remember those misleading trailers showing us Hulk on the battlefield in Wakanda? which of course never happened. But there was a lot of theories that at some point either Black Widow dies. There are a lot of theories going around that Black Widow dies in Infinity War before it came out. Black Widow dies, or something happens to Widow, or she's endangered, and it just pisses Hulk off. Now, in the comic, look, there are renditions of the Hulk where theoretically there is no limit to the Hulk's strength, right? There is no theoretical limit to how strong the Hulk can get. He can be stronger than Thanos, in theory. But the MCU's never explored that dimension to the Hulk's mythos. It's never explored that aspect of the angrier I get, the stronger I get. They've never explored that. So I don't know that that's actually a part of the MCU or not. But in theory, I would agree, Bellboy. One thing that would get him there is seeing, Nat in real day. Like maybe he obviously Nat's not going to die because they're going to do a spin-off Black Widow movie, but maybe he thinks Black Widow gets killed and that just sends him off. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. All right. General Quinata writes, "Hey, John, fans since the AMC days. Thank you so much, Gerald." I said General. It's Gerald. Thank you so much, Gerald. You have set the standard for movie pundits everywhere. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Going to miss you when you decide to call it quits. #respect. Yep. I am working towards my retirement, but whether that retirement's in a year or 10 years, I'm not sure yet. But at some point I will retire from doing this, and I'll miss doing it when I ultimately do. But I've got no plans to stop doing it. I just have too much fun doing this. So I got no plans right now. I haven't talked about it. I'm not going to give specifics. But back when I left my last company, I instantly got approached by a few people, but there was one in particular, but it involved me not doing this. It was something totally different, and it was not doing this. And I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. I still just have too much fun doing this. So thank you, Gerald. I really appreciate that, man. Thanks for the support. All right. Randy writes, "Who do you think Hiroyuki Sanada will play in Avenger and Game?" Oh, I think he meant Endgame. "I think he will play Assassin, Black Knight, or maybe Submariner. Don't know, don't care." It's not, I can guarantee you it's not Submariner, because Submariner's not in the MCU. There are just too many. That's still tied up in a lot of legal problems. So, so I can just guarantee you right now it's not Submariner. As far as who, I have no idea. I have no vested interest in who they're playing, so I have no clue whatsoever in the world. But I do know it's not Submariner. All right. Murray Reich writes, "I never understood why theaters still have the first 5 rows when nobody sits there. Just get rid of them already. I hope one day we'll only have to use recliners." Well, because sometimes people will sit in them. Look, there are people that, hey, it's opening weekend of Avengers Endgame. Crap. The 8 o'clock show only has 3 seats in the front row left. There are people who will still buy those seats. They still will. That's why those seats are there. Because they just tore them out, and that's money that the theaters lost. I mean, I never get those seats. I will rather pass on a movie than go. I'd rather wait a day or two to make sure I get a better seat than take one of those front row seats. But fact of the matter is, when I'm at some of these big movies, those rows are there and there are people sitting in them. Right? That made money for the theater. So that's why they're still there, man. They're not going to pull those out. Sclera Comic writes, "The line where the sky meets the sea, it calls me." That movie, I still get teary when I hear that line. It's a line from the song in Moana. "There's a line where the sky meets the sea, it calls me." It's like, I get teary-eyed when I think about that. The idea about looking to the future, your destiny, all that kind of stuff. Think about that line. There's a line where the sky meets the sea, and it calls me. There's so much rich meaning in that. I could go on for an hour about it, but I love that line, man. I love that line. Angus Dust Aguirre writes, "Hello, hope you're having a lovely day." I am having a lovely day, Angus. Thank you so much for asking. With reboots happening so much nowadays, do you think they'd reboot Back to the Future? I really hope not. Oh, yeah. No, I guarantee at some point, someday, a reboot to Back to the Future will happen. My question for you, Angus B, why would you not want it to happen? Are you afraid that if they reboot Back to the Future, that much like Michael J. Fox starts to disappear out of the picture and Marty starts to disappear from reality, are you afraid if they remake Back to the Future that the original Back to the Future will disappear and fade away? It won't. It'll still be there. That's the thing about reboots, man. Reboot everything. I don't care. Because if it's a good movie, then yay, we've got another good movie. And if it's bad, oh well, we still have the originals. Like, I have this discussion all the time with people, Angus, but there are some people who act like if they reboot this classic movie, thieves will sneak into my house and steal all my copies of that original movie. And they'll disappear from Netflix, and they'll disappear from iTunes, and they'll disappear from Google, and they'll disappear, and we'll never be able to watch the original again. No, they're still there. Doing a reboot in no way hurts your movie. As a matter of fact, studies have shown and proved when you do a remake and a reboot of something, it increases the interest in the originals. Do you know when most people saw Infernal Affairs? When The Departed, when the reboot that they named The Departed happened. That's when most people saw it. When studies have shown when you do a reboot, interest in the original increases. There are a lot of people today who have not watched the original Back to the Future. You know how you fix that? Put out a reboot. It's going to draw a lot of people to go, I should check out the original. And a lot of people will watch the original for the first time ever because there's a reboot. A reboot in no way, it's been proven 1,000 times. Bad reboots come out, all it does is increase the appreciation for the originals. And if a good reboot comes out, then yay, we have another good movie. It doesn't replace the original. Departed never replaced Infernal Affairs, but we got another great movie, and it won Best Picture at the Academy Awards, right? So I really don't care if they reboot it. I don't think there's anything bad. There's no negative consequence to them rebooting it. There's just none. It's just all potential positives. Just all potential positives. So I kind of hope they do it sometime. I don't really care, but I wouldn't poo-poo the idea of them doing it. And I do believe they will at some point. And when they do, it'll just bring more people to the original that maybe have never seen it before. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. All right. Jonathan writes, my favorite Disney movie is Hercules. Really? I think it would be cool to see a live action remake. Could be a cool big budget fantasy movie with great visuals. Don't count on it. Somebody else brought that up the other day. We've had a number of Hercules incarnations lately, right? The Kevin Sorbo show made Hercules feel like kind of a cheesy character. And just a couple of years ago, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson had a Hercules movie out. And by the way, if I remember correctly, I don't believe that did very well. So hold on a second. Let me just double check. Hercules, yeah, it was just out 4 years ago. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's, and it only made $72 million domestically, made $244 million worldwide on a $100 million budget. That means it lost money with the biggest star in the world starring in it. So I wouldn't hold your breath for another live action Hercules for a while. I wouldn't, because like I said, they just did one with the biggest movie star in the world and it still lost money. And a lot of people still think Hercules, they think the Kevin Sorbo kind of cheesy CW kind of Hercules, right? So I'm not saying the original animated is great. It's not one of my favorites, but I know a bunch of people who love that movie and it's good. But I'm just saying, don't hold your breath, Jonathan. Don't hold your breath. It ain't going to happen anytime soon. All right. Anthony J. Lee writes, John, I'm not a fan anymore. Just can't crack it. Try doing my version of being a good fan, but I'm excited to see someone else take the chance. R.I.P. Batfleck. Well, I would say, look, cannot blame you for being disappointed. But I would say withhold any judgment until you see where they're going next. Right? I'm disappointed too. I'm majorly disappointed about Ben Affleck not being it anymore. I'm on the same page with you. I totally am. I'm devastated as a fan. I'm devastated that Ben Affleck's not going to be Batman anymore. But that doesn't mean we can't still look forward to what Matt Reeves is going to do. Matt Reeves is a very talented filmmaker. And I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt if he ever gets around to making this damn movie. It's been years and years and years, but whatever. Okay, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. And let's not let this one setback ruin things for us. You know what I'm saying? Let's not let one setback ruin things for us. Let's see what Matt Reeves does. And maybe it'll be terrible, and maybe it'll be great. But let's not let our disappointment push us to the point of saying, I'm abandoning this just yet. I think that's what I'm encouraging. If that's what you're doing, totally fine. I get it because I understand the disappointment. But I want to encourage you to hang in there. Let's hang in there and see what happens. All right. Thanks for writing that in. Let's see. Ed Morgan writes, hey, John, big fan from the UK. Also just seen Alita. Overall enjoyed it, but just couldn't buy that romance. Yeah, me either. Had me rolling my eyes a few times. I agree. I completely agree. Although the one thing I liked about it, and I can reveal this because it's in the trailer a bit. There's a real sweetness, I got to say, to Alita's crush on Hugo. Particularly when they first meet. There's a real humanity to it, I guess I should say. There's a very good human sweetness to it. And as part of that opening scene with her and Hugo, despite the fact that the Hugo character was a waste, and I ultimately didn't buy into the romance, but when they introduced it, that's one of the reasons I bought into the Alita character, was that scene. It was a very human, very familiar response that got me invested in the character more. I'll say that. I'll give it that credit because I think it really did. And I was charmed by it. I admit it. Now, long term, did I buy into the romance? No. But at least initially, I was so charmed by it that it made me buy into the character. And I continued to be bought into the character of Alita all the way through the movie. And I got to say, given credit where it's due, that first scene with the two of them together was one of the reasons I was able to buy in. Anthony J. Lee says, just joking, by the way, John, still a huge fan. Oh, you were saying you were not a fan of me anymore because of the whole Bad Affleck thing. Oh, okay, well, though I didn't take it seriously anyway at first, Anthony Lee, so no worries. But thank you for clarifying. Leo Milmet writes, over under 2% that they reboot 50 Shades and it gets over 85% on Rotten Tomatoes. I do not think they will ever remake 50 Shades. Forget the 85%. They will never remake 50 Shades. They will never remake 50 Shades. I could go into a whole diatribe right now, Leo, about everything wrong with 50 Shades. I don't think that is worth your time, and I don't think it's worth my time to get into it. But I will boldly, and bravely take the under 2% that they ever reboot 50 Shades of Grey. I'll take the under 2% on that. Leo Milmet writes, how awful is the Star Wars Holiday Special? Should I see? No, honestly, it's so bad. It's not even so bad you got to check it out. It's just so bad that, I mean, I remember seeing it when I was a little kid and instantly blocked it out of my memory. It's so bad. It's so bad. I'll say it again. It's so bad that it'll just taint your thoughts of Star Wars. It's that bad. It's really truly awful, man. Don't bother. Don't watch it. Just don't watch it. Richard, now me saying that is going to make you want to watch it even more. Richard Karate writes, best John Wayne movie. Oh, there's a bunch of classics. You know, somebody asked me that before. And even though I think the remake was a little bit better, I love True Grit. The original True Grit. I think it's one of his better performances, too. I think it's one of John Wayne's better performances, not just one of his better movies. I think it's one of his better performances. So I'm going to go True Grit. Richard follows up, your favorite Fresh Prince episode. Probably the one where his dad comes back and then splits on him. It sets up one of the best scenes ever in Fresh Prince where Will finally breaks down with his, his foster dad, if you will, his uncle. He finally breaks down and like, it was a true emotional moment in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air saying, why doesn't he want me? What's wrong with me? It was a powerful moment for a show like that. And I think that's probably my favorite episode. Haskell 420 writes, Endgame trailer will probably debut 1 to 3 days after Captain Marvel release. Really? You think after Captain Marvel? Oh, I don't think so. Number one, what would you think if, to change it up, they debut the Endgame trailer as the final post-credit scene? It's possible. Oh my God, epic. Number two, over under 7% they do it. I still believe, Haskell, that they're going to debut it at the Oscars. It just makes too much sense. Now, I'm not saying they're going to. I'm just saying I believe it will. That's my guess. It makes too much sense. It's the right time from when the movie opens. It's on a television broadcast that has more people watching it than any non-sports related broadcast on television of the year. Because you can talk all you want about declining ratings at the Oscars. Other than certain sporting events, it is still the number one television broadcast of the year. It just is. And this year will be no different. So it makes sense from a marketing point of view. The show is being broadcast on ABC, which is run by Disney. So if they announce like 3 days before the Oscars, make sure you tune into the Oscars for the next special look at Avengers Endgame. That's going to increase the number of people who are going to watch the Oscars just to see when the Endgame trailer plays. It just makes too much sense. Now, again, I'm not guaranteeing it'll happen, but I just still think that makes the most sense. I don't think they're going to hold the Endgame trailer till the post-credit scene of Captain Marvel. I don't think they'll do that. But it wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world to do it. If you want to get more people out to Captain Marvel, let people know the new Endgame trailer is the post-credit scene. Because kind of like Venom, one of the post-credit scenes for Venom was a sneak peek at Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So Sony did it. Maybe they could do it. So I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I still think they're going to debut it at the Oscars. I could be wrong. I'm not willing to put big money on that. But my guess is still that they're going to debut it at the Oscars. All right, let's move on here. Jonathan Teft writes, finally got around to seeing Moonlight. Such a great movie. Fabulous movie. Loved if Beale Street could talk even more. Wish it was nominated for Best Picture. Can't wait to see what Barry Jenkins does next. Barry Jenkins has just illustrated he knows how to do characters. If there's anything you walk away from Beale Street or Moonlight, he knows how to give us multidimensional, super deep, and multifaceted characters. The movies are all about their characters. That's really the whole movies. His movies are based completely on characters. And he as a director does characters so well. Moonlight is so good. I was surprised if Beale Street Could Talk didn't get nominated, to be honest with you. I'm okay that it didn't get nominated, but I'm really surprised it didn't. I'm surprised it didn't. And I'm completely with you, Jonathan. I cannot wait to see what Barry Jenkins does next. I cannot wait to see what he does next. I think it's just one of the things I'm really excited for. All right. Static Space Sean writes, saw Isn't It Romantic? I still haven't checked it out yet, but I plan on it because it's getting some half-decent reviews. I thought it was a charming little rom-com. Not a Liam Hemsworth fan, but surprisingly was my favorite part of the movie. Really, I'm not a Liam Hemsworth fan either. I don't think the dude can act. I'm just, giving my honest assessment of him as an actor. I do not think, and I don't say that to be hurtful, I'm just saying my honest assessment of Liam Hemsworth, I've never found him to be a talented actor in anything I've seen him in. So it's a little bit surprising to hear that, but it's funny, Stat, because I thought the movie looked like a total train wreck, but I'm hearing okay. I'm hearing that the movie's okay. And you know what? Sometimes okay is good enough. I might want to get out and check it out because I thought it looked horrendous. I thought it would be terrible, and I thought nobody would like it. But the response has been, hey, it's not bad. So I think I might have to check that out, Static. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. All right, just a couple more, and then I got to wrap things up today. We're a little over 2.5 hours now. Wad Wan Wax writes, all film being subjective, is there such a thing as an overrated or underrated movie? Well, I mean, by the literal definition, no. Saying something is overrated or underrated means, from your perspective, you believe the generally accepted quality of a movie, either high or low, is either too highly widely accepted or too lowly widely accepted. But it's all based on subjectivity. So for you to say a certain movie is underrated, that means that you have to subjectively feel the movie is better than what the general consensus of where the movie is, but it's still all subjective. Things are overrated or underrated from your vantage point. So when I say a movie is overrated, what I'm really saying is, from my perspective, I believe the general consensus of that movie is praised too much. I think that the praise that this movie gets from the general consensus of the movie-going audience is too high for what it's worth. I believe it should be significantly lower. That's what really I'm saying when I say a movie is overrated. But yes, it is truly all from a subjective point of view. Because one movie that you think is overrated, somebody might think is underrated. Right? So no, there's no true objectively overrated film. There's no true objectively underrated film. It's just a terminology we use to express our viewpoints of a movie as compared to the generally accepted consensus of a movie, and which is also based on subjective opinion. So it's all subjective. All right, Kenny Kearns writes, why come to this place? Not simply to hide. No, you have a purpose here. Perhaps you are protecting something. No, protecting someone. Oh, that one's ringing a bell. I can't say it off the top of my head, though. Perhaps you're protecting something. No, protecting someone. I can't place it. You guys in the live chat board, what one's that coming from? What one is that coming from? Let people know. Okay. Joe Clem, last two questions of the day, guys. Then I got to call it a day. Joe Clem writes, sorry, FNAF equals Five Nights at Freddy's. Regarding yesterday. Anyway, have you seen the movie Soul Food? If not, you should. I think you'd like it. That sounds familiar. I think I've seen it, but once again, let me go over here to make sure, because I thought I knew the other movie and it wasn't. Are you talking about okay, there's a couple. There's the old one with Vivica A. Fox, which I did see and I did enjoy. I believe Vanessa Williams was also in that one. There's another one, though. Hold on a second. I know there's other ones too. There's a 2001 with Damon DeWitt. Then there's like Soul Food Junkies from 2012. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that you're talking about the Vivica A. Fox one. Yes, I have seen that one. It's been a while since I've seen it. It's been a long while since I've seen that. Neil Long's in that one too. I totally forgot about that. And I remember liking it. I don't remember a lot about the movie. I mean, we're talking about a movie that's like 20 years old, over 20 years old now. But yeah, I remember liking it. I don't think I've seen it in like 20 years, but I remember liking it. Yeah, I think it was a good film. All right. Kenny Kearns writes, that was a Maul quote towards Ben Kenobi on Rebels. If you didn't catch that one, great dialogue. Oh, is that what it was from? I knew it was scratching something in my head, but it's from okay. All right. I still don't remember it. Like, even though you're saying it, I'm like, okay, I still don't remember the line, but that makes sense. That does sound like something that would be from there. All right. Final question of the day comes to us from Jonathan Teft, who writes, I'm not a big fan of horror, but man, am I excited for Pet Sematary, Brightburn, and It Chapter 2. I'm telling you what, that's a true sign, I think, Jonathan, of like a resurgence of a genre. When people who aren't even traditionally fans of the genre have a number of films on the slate that they're really looking forward to. And man, this year, I'm dying to see Brightburn. Pet Sematary is a movie I wasn't excited about at all, and then the trailers came, and I am all in on Pet Sematary. And it was such a surprise hit. It was so surprisingly good that obviously, like everybody else, I'm really excited to see the follow-up to it as well. I think so. And there's a number of other really good-looking ones coming out this year, too. It's really a good time for the horror genre right now. The last couple of years, we've had some really good stuff. It looks like 2019 is going to give us even more good stuff, and maybe that'll open the way for even more stuff moving into the future. All right, guys, that's all the time I have for today. We've gone over 2.5 hours. For guys, Mike, Jonathan, Haskell, all of you guys who sent in questions after that, don't worry, I'm going to copy all these questions and I'm going to put them in an upcoming companion video. It's not going to be in the companion video that goes online tonight because I already recorded that one. But keep your eyes open in the next couple of days. I'm going to have a companion video that will have all these remaining questions. So your questions that you sent in are going to be answered on a video. Keep your eyes open for that. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining me here on this weekend, on this Sunday, as we sit around and talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news. It's always awesome that I get to join you guys, fellow film fans, just talking about this stuff. It's always great to be here, and I appreciate you all so very much. Don't forget, the John Campea Show returns tomorrow morning. Me, Robert Meyer Burnett, Ashley Whalen will join us as well. Make sure you're here only on the John Campea YouTube channel. Again, for those of you who are not Patreon supporters, head on over to my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/John Campea. There you'll get all the information about what it means to be a Patreon supporter, how Patreon supporters keep this channel alive, and also a few little perks of being a Patreon supporter. And maybe you'll want to become a Patreon supporter too. If you do, awesome. And if not, no worries. I'm just awesomely honored that you are here being a film fan with us, and that's all we need. Thanks a lot for being here today, guys. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.